Today, we'll have Crystal's recent Disney World trip with her family. That's coming up on this episode 502 of WDW Prep to Go. Hello and welcome to WDW Prep to Go, where we talk strategy and ideas and have lots and lots of trip reports for people planning their Disney World trips. I am your host, Shannon Albert from WDWPrepSchool.com. Today is another trip report. This time it is with Crystal, who recently visited Disney World with her family, and her trip included using the DAS Pass. So if that is something that is of interest to you, you may learn a bit today. But even if it's not of interest to you, I came away with a handful of tidbits that were helpful to me, so maybe they will be for you as well. As usual, I wanted to remind you to follow on social media. We go live on YouTube and Facebook every day, Monday through Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central. And we're posting social media stuff, Instagram Reels, carousels, you get it. So we've got lots of stuff going out. And if you're following, it can be more of a two-way street because I feel like I'm talking at you, but when we're on social media, we get to interact more. So be sure that to find us over there. I also wanted to tell you that we just created a lightning lane calculator tool. It's a tool that allows you to estimate what you are going to pay for lightning lanes for your trip. And this is something I've been wanting for a little while. And so I'm excited that we're able to create it because I think that it can be super confusing and shocking to see that amount when you are booking your lightning lane 7 days out. And being able to see the total now before your trip can be helpful to figure out what you even want to buy. So for instance, if the total is way more than you had budgeted for, maybe you play around with the tool to figure out, do I really need Animal Kingdom? Do I really need all the single pass lightning lanes, etc.? And you can kind of toggle the things on and off and figure out which one you want to actually pay for. So I'm going to link to that in the description, or you can Google, WDW Prep Lightning Lane Calculator, and you'll find it as well. So that was just launched. And so please be sure to check it out if you want to help with the budget for your upcoming trip. I think that is it. Let's jump into my conversations with Crystal. Welcome to the podcast, Crystal.
Thanks, Shannon. Great to be here.
We're talking on Thursday, January 29th, and I hear you have a Disney World trip coming up.
Yes, we're super excited for it.
Who's we?
My husband and my 3 kids. So we have a 9-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 7-year-old now, and a 4-year-old.
How dare you get it wrong?
I know, seriously. Birthdays, they're so hard.
They are. And is this the first trip for anybody, or is this a repeat?
My youngest. So we used to live in New York, so we went a lot more frequently. And then we moved to Arizona, and so we tend to go to Disneyland over Disney World. So my youngest is 4 and has not been.
Okay. And when are you headed?
Saturday, January 31st is when we leave, and we're coming back Sunday, February
8th. Okay. How did you decide to go this time of year?
I don't love the heat. Also, I have a conference towards the end of the trip that is at Disney World, and so it worked out. It also covers the hotel for the last couple of days, and we've been before in February, probably 5 or 6 years ago, and generally it's a great time weather-wise. It's looking a little chilly, unfortunately, coming up, but we're going to roll with it and see how it goes.
Yeah, now a lot of people traveling to Florida this time of year are looking to escape the cold weather. What's it like where you live?
We live in Arizona, so it's beautiful. It's 65 out right now. It's dry, though, definitely different than the humidity. So I used to go all the time, not all the time, every year with my family growing up, and we would always go in June, and we had a great time, but it was horrendously hot and humid. So since having kids, we've tried to go when it's cooler.
Okay. Got it. All right. So this trip is a combination of like a work event plus just you want to go this time of year, sounds like.
Exactly. Yep. They tend to have conferences, medical conferences every other month or so. And so they did have some opportunities in the summer and the fall, but it's a great time to go, we felt.
Okay. All right. So Saturday, January 31st, are you flying?
Yes. Yep. So we leave 7 a.m. Saturday, getting in hopefully around 12:45, and it's a direct flight. We cannot not do a direct flight. My youngest has Down syndrome, and so waiting is challenging for her, as is any kid on a waiting and flying. So we'll get in around 1, hopefully on Saturday.
Okay. And where you guys stay?
We're doing a split stay, so we're gonna stay the first half at the beach club, and then that's gonna be Saturday through Wednesday, and then Wednesday we'll transfer to the Contemporary, and we'll stay there until Sunday.
Okay. My favorite way to do a split.
Yes,
Take
I'm super
advantage of the
excited.
location.
Yes, exactly. And walking, I actually debated with the cold weather switching from beach club to art of animation, but it's just so nice just to be able to get up and walk and not have to worry about transportation and lines, and you have full control of that.
All right. And so, how are you getting from the airport to Beach Club?
We're going to try Orlando Magical Ride. Listening to your podcast, you've had people recommend it, so we're going to give it a go. Originally, we were going to make a stop at the grocery store on the way, but I think since we're having to plan for winter coats and things like that, we're just going to go straight from the airport to the hotel and then have groceries delivered.
Okay. And where did you get your groceries? Where are you getting your groceries delivered from?
Publix grocery store.
Okay. Got it. And do you have plans on this first day, Saturday?
And, as long as we get in on time, we're hoping to go to Epcot since it's walking. It's a 5-minute walk. With the conference, there are subsidized tickets. And so they give you a deal. And so it was only $120 more to add on an extra day. So it wasn't as, devastating if for some reason it didn't work out. Obviously, hopefully it does. But I love Epcot. For kids, I think it's great walking around. And I know it's going to be busier because it's a Saturday, but we love Epcot.
And what do you hope to do at Epcot?
We are just going to take a look at how long the rides are. I'm anticipating doing more of the lower wait times, the aquarium, Turtle Talk with Crush, depending how cold it is. Moana's the water exhibit. But we're gonna see. We do have the DOS pass with my daughter, and so that does help with the rides that she is able and willing to ride. But we're just gonna take it easy, and hopefully the kids are really excited to see some of the stores. Again, Saturday is not ideal to do that, but we're just gonna see how the crowds are and try and be flexible.
Can we talk about the DAS process?
Sure.
Your first time applying for that?
At Disney World, so we have used it at Disneyland, but first time for Disney World.
Okay. And did you have any issues with that, or was that pretty seamless for you?
It thankfully was very seamless. I was nervous. There's been a lot of changes, and looks like there's going to be more changes potentially. Looking at the news, Celine, anything longer than a 5 or 10 minute wait, she is very challenging, and she's getting bigger and stronger, and very vocal. So thankfully, they were very accommodating, and I didn't have to really. They saw her, they talked for her for a minute or two, and they pretty much approved us at that point. But I do think for people with invisible disabilities, it is a lot more challenging than someone like Celine, who very obviously has Down syndrome.
Yeah, that is the tricky part, I think, nowadays with the DAS system. But for you, it is going to work out. Okay.
Yes, and we did have I forgot, we have a Guardians Lightning Lane for 6:45 that night. My husband is not a huge Disney fan. I've been trying to convert him for years, but I think he'll love that ride. So I did get a Guardians Lightning Lane for that day, and then another day when we're going to be in Epcot again.
Is that for all five of you?
Celine my youngest is just at 40 inches. So it's going to be for the two older kids and then me and my husband. So we'll have to do a rider swap.
Yeah. Got it. Okay. So anything else on this Saturday?
No, we'll probably do a quick service meal. We are doing the dining plan. I've never done that before. Curious to see how that works. It made sense since we have a 4, 7, and 9-year-old to do the kids eat free dining plan just with the character meals that we're doing. So we'll probably do a quick service meal. I had reservations for Via Napoli, but I think after being on an airplane all day, I don't think my kids are going to want to do that. So I believe I'm going to cancel it.
Okay. Are you ready to talk about Sunday, February 1st?
Yes.
What's your plan?
So originally that was going to be a sleep in, relax, hang out at the pool. The current high is supposed to be 45, I believe, on Sunday. And so I don't even think the pools will be open, nor would my kids want to play in it. So we're gonna see how it goes. I was able to get a Cape May character breakfast at Beach Club for 9 o'clock. So grateful for that. We may go over and take the Skyliner to Art of Animation and check out the playgrounds and the character theming just because it's such a cute, amazing hotel. We've stayed there before and honestly almost stayed there, but just proximity to the Park Beach Club went out. And then we do have a 520 for beaches and cream. And so other than that, we're just going to see how the temperature goes. My youngest hates the cold, so it's going to be a day of flexibility. They have fun things at the hotel. They have s'mores at 5:30, and we'll see how it goes.
This is kind of the epitome of eating where you're staying or where you are, which is something I talk about a lot.
It makes it so nice. It's so convenient.
All right. So then Monday, February 2nd.
So the plan is to go to Epcot that day. We are going to do early rope drop. My kids are up early, usually between 5 and 6 a.m. And so we will be ready to go, I'm sure. We have an 11:05 lightning lane for Guardians. We most likely will take a break for nap, but we will see. My youngest is kind of transitioning out of that, so we may do a stroller nap if she's doing okay. We have a 5:30 at the Royal Banquet, the Norway Pavilion. I can never pronounce that, but Akershus.
Akershus.
Akershus, yes. So we have that at 5:30. Probably not going to use the dining plan for that just because it's 2 credits, and then it's extended evening hours for deluxe hotels. So my plan is probably for the older kids to want to stay, and I doubt my youngest will make it through 9 to 11. And I had looked into getting a nanny, but my husband is very okay with going back to the hotel with my youngest. So when she's done, they'll go back.
Okay. So the three of you will probably stay out.
I think so. My kids are the point where they're the older two at least are, rope drop to close.
Okay. Tuesday, February 3rd.
So that is Hollywood Studios again, anticipating rope dropping. We lucked out on the lightning lanes. We have a 9:25 Slinky Dog, a 10:25 Toy Story Mania, and 11:15 Tower of Terror. And so in between that, we'll see. It's also, again, I think the low is 27 that day. So praying it comes up a little bit, but we'll see. Lots of indoor rides. Hopefully the Mickey and Minnie runway. My daughter loves that. We can use the DOS pass on that, but we'll see how the crowds are. And then that one, I had planned on taking a nap and a break in the middle of the day, but there's so many awesome shows. And I think, again, transitioning out of nap, we may end up staying, but we will see how everyone's going. We're not going to push it because I do want to be there for Phantasmic at night if possible. So possible nap break, we'll see. And then we have a 410 sci-fi dine-in Phantasmic package.
Okay. 410 sci-fi FDP.
Yep. Yes.
All right. You've seen Phantasmic at Disneyland?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Have you seen it at Disney World?
No, I'm excited.
Okay. I'm going to make a note just to ask you about that.
Okay.
Because
yes, I think
it's
my
always
kids will
interesting.
Very different. And yes, I've heard, just from your podcast, the differences, but I'm still excited. I'm still very excited.
Well, I mean, pros and cons.
Yep.
There's perks to both. So I'm just curious what your thoughts are. Mm-hmm. All right. And then on Wednesday, February 4th, you moved to the Contemporary.
Yep. Yeah. And so in the morning, I had originally had the Cape May breakfast planned. I'm going to cancel that now that we're changing. And the plan is to swim, relax, hang out in the morning. It's a little bit warmer that day, so fingers crossed. I think if it's above 60, my kids will be fine. But we'll see how that goes. And then at some point, whenever they're done, we will go to the Contemporary and planning on using Bell Services to transfer most of our luggage. We'll probably keep one suitcase just to change if we are swimming. And then at 420, we have a 1900 Park Fair character dining, which I've never done before, and I'm really excited for.
Mm-hmm. Very popular one these days.
I love it. I mean, my daughter's in a Maribel kick. My 2 daughters wear glasses, so they absolutely adore the fact that Maribel has glasses. There's Aladdin for my son, so I'm excited. And then obviously the hotel itself is just beautiful. And then after that, whenever we're done, we'll go to Magic Kingdom. They have also extended evening hours at that point, and we will go until the kids are done. I would love to see the parade. Is it the Starlight Parade? Because I haven't seen that yet. We've struggled with parades in the past with my youngest, just with crowds and waiting. So we will see how that goes. We do usually qualify for the stroller becoming a wheelchair, and so I do know they have some seating reserved for that. So we'll see. That's if we can do it, awesome. If not, maybe the older kids and I do it, and Ray, my husband, takes Selene to do something else.
Okay. What about Thursday, February 5th then?
Thursday and Friday are flexible. So Thursday morning is when my conference is, and it's 7 to 11. And so the plan is for my husband to stay with the kids, probably just have them chill in the hotel, depending how warm it is. Maybe he'll go for a walk, or I doubt the pool's gonna be warm enough at that point. But that's gonna be very a relaxing sleep in, hopefully for the kids, probably not, but hopeful thinking. And then after my conference, originally I was thinking Magic Kingdom, but the more I've been thinking about it just last night and today, that may become an Animal Kingdom day. So we're gonna see with dinosaur going away and there's no boneyard anymore. Currently, it's Magic Kingdom. It may transition to an Animal Kingdom day because it's open till 6 that day.
Is your conference at the Contemporary?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
So
That's
super
convenient.
convenient. Oh, it's so nice. Yep. You get up, you go, and then husband has the kids already, and then we go hit the parks. So it'll either be Magic Kingdom or Animal Kingdom Day. So we'll see. And then I had forgotten I had Tron Lightning Lanes on Thursday, but I actually moved it to Wednesday just to allow for that flexibility in case we decided Animal Kingdom was a better day, because Friday was, as of now, is Animal Kingdom Day.
Okay. I'm going to write down that you have a Tron Lightning Lane on Wednesday as well.
Yes, sorry about that.
That's okay. Okay. Anything else on Thursday before we talk about Friday?
I did schedule a Tusker House. I just did this morning at 11. So I have that potentially if we decide to make that an Animal Kingdom day, but I will cancel that obviously if we decide not to.
Your conference is 7 to 11, though?
Yeah, so I would just have my husband go if he's feeling brave, maybe take a minivan. We've never done that before. So I don't think he's going to feel confident enough to take the bus over, but maybe I could convince him to go over there with the kids and in the minivan. But we'll see. I mean, again, Thursday's kind of the flexible day. The focus for me is the conference and then obviously having fun after.
Okay. And does your conference continue on Friday, February 6th?
It does, but they do have the option. They record it. And so the most important day for me was Thursday to get all those lectures in. And so depending on whether we keep that as an Animal Kingdom day or transition to Magic Kingdom, the original plan and what I have right now is going to Animal Kingdom and rope dropping that. And so I would just listen to the lectures later. And I do have a 10:20 Tusker House on Friday for their character breakfast. I didn't buy any lightning lanes for that day just because we were hoping to rope drop Flight of Passage, and we can do single rider with Everest, and the rest of them with Selene, we can use the DOS pass.
Okay. All right. I got it. Are you ready for Saturday?
Yes, so Saturday is our another Magic Kingdom day. So we do have lightning lanes for that day. I didn't know at that point how done Celine would be with the crowds and the noise, and she loves Disneyland. So I'm hoping the same as for Disney World. But we're planning on rope dropping. I just looked at the hours; they updated it a couple weeks ago. It was 9 to 9, and now they're saying it's 8 to 11. So obviously they're anticipating bigger crowds, unfortunately, but hopefully we will be up to rope dropping. And I have a 9 a.m. lightning lane for Space Mountain, a 9:45 lightning lane for Winnie the Pooh, and a 10:40 lightning lane for Haunted Mansion.
Okay. You have dining reservations?
I have a 5:10 p.m. for Crystal Palace. I may cancel that. The kids love it. And originally, I had planned on that instead of doing the 1900 Park Fair, but just with the different characters, they're more familiar with the 1900 Park Fair. It's just so classic, the Crystal Palace, and I have a hard time passing it up. And buffets are just a lot easier for my kids, especially my youngest. There's not a wait. You sit down, the food's there, the characters are there. The waiters and waitresses are always fantastic with the kids. And I know sometimes character dining can go long for some people, but My youngest is very vocal, and when she's done, she's done. And so usually they are very accommodating and, get the check and get us out just because they don't want to deal with Celine either. But we'll see how the character dining has gone up to that point. It's definitely not a necessity, but I have it there just in case.
And with the dining plan,
Yep.
it's just you can do some credit too.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Okay. And then Sunday, February 8th is departure?
Yep. So I do have the conference in the morning, so that's going to be 7:11 to 11 as well. And then my husband obviously will hang out with the kids. Hopefully it's warm enough that day for them to do a little swimming and then head to the airport, and the flight is at 5:30.
Okay. And same car service?
We are going to plan on Ubering back, so my work will cover that.
Okay. Got it. Is there anything we have not talked about on your trip plans?
I think we covered most of it. And actually, talking about dining plan, actually, we only have it for the first 4 days, now that I'm thinking about it, because of the split stay. And apparently, when you do conference, the hotels are also subsidized through the conference, so they don't allow the dining plan to be added when you are booking it through the conference website. So, still love Crystal Palace, but that would not be on the dining plan. So, we have that through Wednesday night.
Bring your refillable mugs, though, to the Contemporary because you'll still be able to use them.
Oh, awesome. Good to know. Thank you.
They function for 14 days. So you might as well.
That's great. Yes, no, for sure.
Yeah.
I've never done
Yes.
the dining plan, so it's going to be a learning experience. So thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. Well, this all sounds great. A fun way to combine work and fun all in one trip.
Oh, so fantastic. Yes.
All right. Well, I'll talk to you in a couple weeks then when you get back and see how it went.
Perfect. Thanks so much.
Welcome back from your trip, Crystal.
Thank you so much. Great to be back.
We're talking on Monday, February 16th. So you've had about a week home since your trip.
Yes,
How are you guys doing?
we're doing great. It's so good to be back in warm Arizona because we had a very cold Florida experience, but we're doing great.
Isn't that nuts? You wouldn't
The
expect.
joys of January and February. Yes.
You just never know what you're going to get. So overall, how was the trip for you?
It was really good. Definitely some learning experiences. All of us had been except for my youngest daughter, so we did have some learning curves there. But it was a great trip. We had positive experiences pretty much throughout the trip. No major complaints. Obviously, some days went better than others, but overall, it's a great trip.
Okay, let's talk through it to see how your actual versus your plans met compared. So Saturday, January 31st, you were flying out in the morning to land around 12:45 in Orlando.
Yes, and that went pretty smooth. We had about a 20-minute delay, but we landed, no major issues. We got to the baggage claim. That took a little bit longer. It's, Orlando, so not to be unexpected. It took about 20, 30 minutes to get the bags. Once we had the bags, we did use Orlando Magical Rides, and they're very efficient. They were texting us the whole time. I think they get our flight information beforehand, so they were aware that the flight was delayed and no issues there. And they met us at the elevator by baggage claim and then took us straight to the car. And so it was very streamlined, very efficient. We were at the hotel by 2:20, and so not too much later than I'd hoped. It was cold. The coldest Florida has seen for years and years and set records on Sunday, but on Saturday it was just starting to get cold. So we got all the layers on, the coats and everything. And my goal had been to be at Epcot at 3. We didn't get there until we left our room at about 3:08 because we were staying at Beach Club, which is so nice, such a quick walk over. And we were through the entrance by 3:20. So from the time we left our room through security and everything, it was, very, very efficient, 12 minutes, which was great.
So pretty close to your plan.
Yeah. Yep. And check-in was no problem. They actually gave us a room which had a full balcony, which is really nice. The Beach Club, and that's the difference, I think, between the Yacht Club and the Beach Club, is some of them don't have the full balcony. So even though it was cold outside, we were able to see some of the fireworks from Magic Kingdom from my balcony. So it was a great room. And we never stayed at Beach Club before, so we didn't really have much time at that point to kind of look around. But it is a great resort. We loved it.
Okay, so you got to Epcot at 3 something.
Yes. And at that point, it wasn't too chilly, so it was still pretty crowded. It's a Saturday at Epcot, so totally be expected. They did have the Festival of the Arts going right now, And so one of the kids had kind of seen all the advertisement for it. So there were some things they wanted to do. So the first thing we did was to go paint the mural that they had. Everyone gets 3 or 4 squares and a paintbrush, which was super fun, something that we haven't done before at Disney World. It is not washable paint, which I did not realize. So just heads up, I had just gotten a brand new coat, which I needed, but odd that I needed it for Florida, and it was black. So definitely have some white paint reminders. I'll always remember our Disney World painting experience. Just FYI.
I was just going to ask you, do you even have coats?
We lived in New York City for years, so we do. And my husband's family lives in Utah. That being said, I had desperately needed a coat for like 2 or 3 years, and I had not bought one because we live in Arizona, and I was just making do. But yes, we do because my kids like to go skiing. But we did not have thermals, and I actually ended up buying thermals for half of my family because it was that cold.
Wow, that's okay. So you got a little paint on your new coat.
But it was fun. We got a wheelchair tag for my daughter because we were using the DAS pass as well as 2 of the day's lightning lanes. And so we just stopped at guest relations. That was very easy and streamlined to do. And in the meantime, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was going to say, just to clarify for people, the benefit to that is you can take your stroller more places.
It is life-changing. We had done Disneyland a couple times with my youngest without the wheelchair, and just the epic meltdowns in line. Because even with lightning lanes or DAS pass, you're still waiting sometimes 10, 20. We waited 30 minutes on test track just to get through the lightning lane. And so my daughter just cognitively does not understand, hey, if you wait in line, it's going to be super fun. She sees a line and that she's meltdowns and hair pulling. And so that gives her kind of a safe space. And I will say, obviously, this is not the point behind it. It does, I didn't realize how much time it saves versus like parking the stroller. Now, obviously, that is not the purpose behind it at all, but it gave her a safe space and it allows us to do the parks with my daughter. I don't know at this point because she's getting so big. She's 4.5 if we'd be able to do the line, even with the DAS pass without the wheelchair. So the wheelchair.
Okay. So the stroller as a wheelchair allows you to do more with your daughter.
Yes. Yep. And it gives her a quiet space too. And also that she leaves other people alone, which most people, honestly, this entire trip, I was amazed. We did not have a single rude person interaction, which for Disney World, anyways, in the past, we've always had at least 1 or 2, and I think most people do, but everyone was very kind and generous and very flexible with my daughter, who has no concept of social space whatsoever.
Yeah, I do think the nice guests can really make your trip so much better.
100%. Yes. Yeah. I mean, everyone's tired. It's a very overwhelming experience for some people. The lines obviously get to you, but if you can have those good interactions with people and cast members, I mean, cast members are always awesome, but it just makes the trip so much better.
Okay. So you got the stroller set up.
And then as I was doing that, I did get a DOS pass for Figment. At this point, it's, afternoon at Epcot. Most of the lines were 60 plus minutes at this point. And so the way the DAS pass works is you get the pass and then you wait however long the line is at that point. So Figment was really the only option. And at this point, I also didn't know if my daughter was going to be able to do the 40-inch rides yet. She was just at 40 inches, but she's very stubborn and she doesn't want to stand up straight or do that. She will not. And so I wanted to start with a ride that at least we knew we all could do and we wouldn't have to wait an hour plus. So after we did the painting and we got the wheelchair tag, we did go do Figment. And Figment also was there at the same time at the end of the ride. So we got in the DAS pass line or the lightning lane line. It was about a 5-minute wait to get through the lightning lane, get on the ride. And then after the line, they have that nice little play area for the kids. So for any kids who either just need some runaround times for 1 and 2-year-olds, or for kiddos who may need some sensory play, it's a great space. Or even if the weather's terrible, it's a great place to play and hang out. And Figment was there. So while my husband hung out with Celine on the little dance floor that they have there, I went to stand in line with my 2 big kids and met Figment, which is fun because we've never done that before.
Mm-hmm. Well, did it scare anyone, or am I projecting?
There was one moment where my youngest was like, heck to the no, we are not doing this, with the dark, loud sounds. And I've never done the Figment ride since it's been redone, correct? Right? In the past couple of years?
Yeah, I mean, just little updates, but it's mostly the same. I thought you were talking about meeting Figment.
Oh, meeting Figment. Oh, So my daughter, my youngest, Celine, 4, she did not want to meet him at all. Yeah, she was not having any of it.
Okay.
My older 2 loved it.
Okay, meeting Figment is the part that would scare me, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
There's
Yeah.
something about the proportions, it's just a giant.
Yes. Yeah. And it's so odd. And it's a character that most of my kids are not very familiar with. So I was shocked they wanted to stand in the line because it was about a 25-minute wait.
Mhm.
But they did. My son, I will say for this trip, my oldest daughter is 9.5. And she's kind of a younger soul. She loves meeting the princesses, loves getting all the autographs. She could do any of the younger rides that my youngest would do, which is kind of how I am. I mean, Disney's just awesome. My son, who's 7, is a little bit more of the, hey, let's go do all the big rides. But for this, and he's never been really interested in autographs, but this trip I had them either bring a purse, or my son has a fanny pack that they kept the autograph book in with like their own pen. And I think that gave him some ownership. And so this is the first time I've seen him being excited about meeting characters. So that was kind of fun. They had their Figment doesn't sign. He has a little postcard he gives you that we could tape into the autograph book. But it was fun to see my son actually interacting with the characters, whereas in the past he's kind of been like, too cool for that.
Yeah, it sounds like you had given him a method to do that. So he was like, "This is my job."
Yeah, give him some ownership. So it worked. I mean, you try as a parent, and half the time you fail, and half the time it's a win. So I was glad to see that it was a win this time.
Mhm. Okay. What was after Figment?
So while we were waiting in line for Figment, I did get a Living with the Land DAS pass. It was a 20-minute wait. So by the time we got through the line, we essentially headed over and did Living with the Land. And when we were walking over there, I just wanted to see if Celine would even stand up for Soaring. Soaring was about an 80-minute wait, so we weren't going to do that at that point. But she did, and she was right at that 40. She was a little bit above the 40-inch mark. And so at least for, Saturday, I was like, okay, we can do this. We can do some of the higher height requirements. So we didn't do it at that point because we had dinner reservations for later, which we ended up keeping. And we had gone into Saturday afternoon expecting the longer waits, so just to get some of the lower weights experience. And that's kind of what we ended up doing. So we did the Living with the Land ride, the Lightning Lane line had a 5-minute wait, same thing. So we pretty much walked right on. My youngest did not like that one. I think it was a little bit too boring for her. I love that ride. I think it's very relaxing. And my oldest was like, oh, this is so cool. You get to learn all these things about plants. And my youngest was not having it. So we got multiple reminders of sitting down on the boat as we were going, but got off that and then went to Nemo. I didn't use the DOS pass for that because I wanted to see if we could get a pass for after dinner for Test Track. And the wait at that point was 90 minutes. And so I figured, let's just go do Nemo, do the standby line. And I was able to get a Test Track for a pass for later after dinner. It was about a 90-minute wait. So went to Nemo, did that, no wait, got on. Kids loved it. And then we did the aquarium because we had about 30 minutes. And at this point, the temperatures were starting to drop. The wind chill was coming in. People were leaving. You see like lots of people leaving. I think most of the locals stayed home for the rest of the evening because there was absolutely no one in the country's portion of Epcot, which is great from a walking perspective. But I mean, literally, we had thermals on, we had sweaters, we had coat, gloves, hats. And my husband thought I was just overkill, right? Shouldn't have to bring all this stuff. But the time dinner came around after we walked out of Nemo, I mean, we had everything on. It was cold.
Yeah. There were pros and cons. Sounds like it wasn't very busy, but
Exactly. And Saturday, they did not shut down any of the rides. I know on Sunday we didn't go to the park, but because it's so cold, they actually shut down some of the rides, especially the outdoor rides. But yes, at this point, after the aquarium, which also is another great space, I feel like for toddlers and littles or anyone with sensory needs, just to walk around and, see all the animals. They've got a little interactive play area that the kids love with some tunnels and lots of stairs. So the aquarium is a great, chill spot, I feel like, for anyone who just wants to walk around and get a break from the rides and the lines.
Mhm. Okay. What was next?
So then we started walking over to Italy. So the World Showcase. We had dinner reservations at Via Napoli, which originally I didn't know if we were going to keep just because it was a sit-down meal. We'd just been on a long flight, long travel. But it was so cold that we did not want to eat anywhere outside at all. And so it seemed like a great, nice Italian warm spot. And we actually got line, and the line was huge. And most of the people in the line were people trying to get in who didn't have reservations. And so I felt really bad for those people because there was absolutely no open spots at all.
It's so nuts because those indoor table service reservations are often to get out of the sun.
Yes.
And you're like, "Let me in so I can warm up."
Yes. Exactly. I mean, people are trying to get in that lobby area just to get out of the cold. But that the dinner was amazing. The food was great. It did take a while again, I think, because they were, I don't know if busier than normal because Disney World, I feel like, is always busy, but it took about our dinner reservations were 6:05. We were seated about 20 minutes later. And so around 6:25. And once we were seated, then the service was fine. Food came out very quickly. Usually, I think it took about 20 minutes. I got pizza, which is amazing. My husband got a pasta dish. And then for kids, they just have lots of options. They've got pizza, they've got pasta. And so everyone enjoyed that meal. And it was really nice to sit down and be warm.
Mhm. And I'm looking at the pre-trip notes. Did you have Guardians of the Galaxy near this time?
We did. And so I kind of relied on that 3 hour buffer a lot on this trip. In the past, I was very much stressed about hey, I need to be there within an hour, hour and 10 minutes. But this trip, I wanted it to be more chill than previous trips. My husband gets very overwhelmed with Disney. I would say he doesn't like it. He says it's just an overwhelming experience. So I was trying to be a little bit more go with the flow, which is definitely not my personality at all. But yes, we had the Guardians, and so we didn't get to that until 7:30, looks like, from my notes. And so we were a little bit late, but there wasn't a problem. And we did the rider swap because my youngest couldn't do that one.
Mhm.
And so my husband took my two oldest to do it the first time. Celine and I went into the shops. We tried some of the sodas at the Cool Club, which she had fun doing, which I was excited to see. I've never done that before either. There was no one in the shop at all. It was just me and I think like two or three other people. And then once my husband, two kids finished that, I took my son to do the rider swap. And they did the same thing. They kind of walked around some of the inside shops in that area. And in the meantime, we had that test track for that DOS pass. And the DOS pass is different in that it never expires. And so it actually went down during this time. And I don't know if it's for maintenance. They didn't close it the rest of the night. So I think it was something happened. Who knows? And so we had that extra DOS pass that we could get at that point, and I got it for soaring. And that wasn't until 8:30. So it was going to be right after we were done with Guardians. And because at this point, the lines were starting to drop a little bit.
Mhm.
I think because a lot of people were leaving because of the cold. And also it's later at night. So finished up Guardians, went to do the soaring ride, which everyone loved. I was a little bit concerned with my youngest not liking that, but she absolutely loved it. Not so much the sand in the face or the sensation of, the wind, but she loves the animals and flying concept. And that's one of my favorite rides, both at Disneyland and Disney World.
And now she's tall enough.
And now she's tall enough, which is so great.
Mhm.
And so at that point, we went and did Remy. And so we got into line for Remy at 8:54. There was still a 45-minute wait in the standby line, but we used the DOS pass and it was only about a 10-15-minute wait in the Lightning Lane line. So I was surprised that line was actually still pretty long. And I don't know if that's because it was the exit for a lot of people, but most of the other rides, other than Guardians was still, I believe, a 75-minute wait, even at the end of the night, and even though it was so cold. And then we did Remy. We were off Remy by 9:10, and we went and got some hot cocoa because it was so cold and went back to the hotel.
A long day.
It was. It was a good day, though, but it was a long day.
Long day. Those arrival days often are. But it feels like you got a good taste of the parks and maybe how your youngest was going to handle some rides and things since
It
it
was
was
great
new
to
to her.
see. Exactly. And it was nice. I mean, one, just confirming, okay, she is at that 40-inch and
Mhm.
hopefully she can stand tall for the rest of the trip. And also, I mean, it was pretty crowded the first couple hours and it didn't seem to phase her. And Epcot, there's enough space, I feel like, for little kids to run around without you feeling like they're going to get trampled somewhere.
Mhm. Okay, so let's go to the next day, which was Sunday, February 1st. In the notes, I wrote high of 45 forecasted for the day. So let's see, was this another cold one or how did it go?
It was so cold. I mean, literally fountains were freezing over, and I'll have to send you that picture. I think that's gonna be one of my favorite Disney World pictures of all times of literally water frozen and curlicues in the air. It was so cold. I think we didn't leave the hotel until about 10:30, and I'll go back to those plans. But I think waking up, the wind chill was like 12 degrees. It was so cold. And so I was grateful we weren't in the park.
Yes, that's insane.
Yes. And so my understanding is they shut down all the water rides that day. And then the outdoor rides like Test Track and Everest, I don't think they even got them started until the afternoon for a couple hours, from my understanding. So we did have to make some changes. I was making changes when we did that pre-trip because originally this day was supposed to be our pool day, hanging out, have fun, relaxing. Only reservations originally had was for beaches and cream. And then I think it was the day we were doing the pre-trip. I just looked at the weather and it was not changing as I was hoping it would. And so I was actually able to snag a breakfast at Cape May at 9 a.m. on Sunday. And so I canceled the reservation I had for that on Wednesday and ended up doing that. So the kids were up by 6:30. We didn't really get up, and we weren't in a rush at this point because it was so cold and there was not much to do. So we got up, got dressed, had them watch a little TV, and then went down and had breakfast at Cape May, which is the first. We've never done that before. Usually we do Chef Mickey, so that was a change for us. And I liked it. The food was great. The character interactions were fantastic. It wasn't as loud as well as Chef Mickey's. Like, I love Chef Mickey's at the Contemporary, but that's pretty loud. And this was definitely more quiet. And they actually had us in a corner, so I'm sure that probably contributed as well. But it was a great breakfast.
You can't beat the commute, since you were staying at the beach club.
And we'd have to put coats on. I was seeing everyone else coming in from outside and like shedding layers. So it was a great commute.
What was after your Cape May breakfast?
This is where we went to Disney Springs. So we did some pin trading at the hotel. We found flounder, which is at most hotels. They have a little animal you can go find, and then you get a little pin if you find it. And so I was not planning on doing Disney Springs. The bus with our youngest is really challenging, but really there was not many other options to do. Obviously, the pool was out. They were all closed, and we wouldn't have been there anyway. So we ended up taking the bus. We only had to wait 10 minutes for the bus. We got on the 11 a.m. bus to Disney Springs, and we were there by 11:20. And this is where, again, have to be flexible. I am not a huge shopper. My kids love to shop, so they were in heaven because they got to go see all the fun things at Disney Springs. And it's a great area. There was no one there. I was absolutely empty again because it was so cold. And then my youngest, actually, while the older kiddos were shopping with my husband, she passed out. She was, I think, so tired from the previous day that we took a little nap in one of the stores, tried to find a quiet spot. And we hung out there for a couple of hours. She woke up. So we did get some hot cocoa as well. We had brought some snacks. So we really didn't do much other than shopping there. And we went over to Art of Animation. At that point, we got the bus over at Art of Animation because originally we wanted to go play on the playgrounds and explore there, which at that point had warmed up enough. I think you mentioned 46, so still not warm, but warm enough. So our youngest had never been to Art of Animation. We've stayed there before, and it's been 5 or 6 years, but my oldest did remember it. I think my middle kiddo remembered it from photos more so than actually memory, but they just have a lot of cute playgrounds and play spaces for the kids. They've got a good checkerboard. Theming is amazing. If you love Disney theming, that's like the best. And when I saw the weather, I actually contemplating going back to Art of Animation because they have those suites with the one bedroom, and I would say just about $80 a night. And since we weren't going to be using the pool as much, but the walk to Epcot won me over, and we stayed at the beach club. So we played on the playgrounds, walked around for about 2 or 3 hours. I guess we played from 1 to 3, and then we ended up actually getting some lunch because the kids were hungry.
At the food court there?
Yeah. Just got a burger, and I think my daughter got fish and chips. I wasn't that hungry from the breakfast. And we had the dining plan, which we have never done before. I don't think we'll ever do it again. It was a good experience. It's just so much food, and the kids were free this time, and that's why we did it. It did pay off. We, beat the Disney system, I guess, or however you want to say it. We definitely used it more than the $800 that we spent.
Because you have 3 kids.
Yep.
in that age range. So you would be one of the cases where it really would probably pay
Yeah.
off.
It's probably the only one if you have 3 or more kids. Just, I mean, especially because we did character meals. My kids love character meals. I hate standing in line for characters. It's one of the few things I don't like doing at Disney. So yes, from the we used all the table credits, the quick service. We used all the adult ones, I believe. We didn't hardly use the kid service ones, but this is one of those times we did use the quick service meals, which normally I would have been like, hey, here's some sandwiches. And instead we ended up eating at the food court, which no, it's fun.
Mhm.
And then we took the Skyliner back because the kids love the Skyliner. That took about 20 minutes and we had some time to kill. So we did, bath time, a little bit of TV decompress time. And the Beaches and Cream was at 5:30. It had we had to wait about 25 minutes. So again, we weren't sat right at 5:30 when we checked in, unfortunately. But our server, Zach, was incredible. He was great. The food was flat. I've never eaten there before. We've walked past it and I've always wanted to. Again, with the dining plan, so much food. We got the milkshakes for the drink. I got a burger. My husband got some sort of Reuben sandwich. I think the kids got burger and chicken tenders, the typical kids meal, mac and cheese. And then by the time dessert rolled around, I was so full, I just couldn't do it. So, and I mean, we eat fairly healthy, so that's also part of it. But the server was great. He's like, hey, let me just throw some cookies in and take it to go. And we did eat those later, I think the next day. So at least he was nice about that.
Yes, that dining plan will keep you full.
Yes. And I mean, thankfully, you do lots of walking. I didn't write down specific steps for each day, but we walked anywhere between 7 to 11 miles every day. So at least you're getting your exercise in at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
We finished at 7:15. Actually, had the kids in bed by 8:15, which I was shocked that happened because we were all in one room. And then I think I mentioned it before, we were able to see my husband and I fireworks from the balcony. So we were in coats and gloves and hats, but we were able to see the fireworks from the balcony.
It's one of my favorite uses of a room with a balcony for parents with young kids that go to bed. It's like
Mm-hmm.
you can still go outside and do, have a view of something.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So,
And you have a little bit of space.
yes, it's almost like its own separate little room.
Yeah.
Even if you have to throw the coats on to go out there.
I know. My husband was not wanting to do it. I'm like, I'll be out there. You can choose what you do. If you want to stay inside, it's fine. But we have a balcony. I love fireworks. We're going to do it. So he eventually joined me with multiple layers.
Okay. Well, it sounds like a fun, non-park day. But the next day was Monday, February 2nd. You were back to Epcot.
Yes. And thankfully, it was warmer throughout the day. I think, again, the high was still only about 60. So it was still cold in the morning with hats and coats. And this is one of those mornings that I did do rope drop. I am such a let's get up, let's rope drop, and then stay through the night. But it kind of morphed throughout the trip where we didn't use rope drop as much as we normally do. But we left the hotel at 8. My husband wanted to go for a run. So it's just me and the 3 kiddos. You've got that nice little running area around the boardwalk. And so my kids and I were through security at 8:14. And first thing we wanted to do was Remy. The DOS test does not work at Epcot during the early morning rope drop hours, which I wasn't aware of. And so at that point, by the time we got through security and to Remy, it was already a 40-minute wait. And so because of that, I just didn't think my kids would be able to cope with that. Also, we would have the option of doing it later. And so we changed, which was really hard for all 3 of my kiddos. We've never ridden, or we rode it, I guess this was our first trip riding it. So we rode it obviously on Saturday, but they wanted to ride it again. But there was only a 10-minute wait for Soaring. So we went and walked all the way over to Soaring, and we didn't need to use, there was no DAS Pass option at that point. So we just did the standby lane 5-minute wait. We were on the ride at 9. And then because they enjoyed Figment so much the previous day, we did go back to do the Figment ride and the little play space. Again, it was very cold still. And so it was a nice little warm up area. And at that point, since it was 9 o'clock, I could get the DOS Pass for Remy. And so we had a little snack, a little bathroom break. At that point, the wait was 50 minutes for Remy. And so I had gotten it, I think, I guess we got on the ride at 10:10. So I think I got it when there was about a 40-minute wait. So we walked all the way back to Remy.
But your husband, was he with you yet?
No.
So you couldn't get a DAS pass for him because
Nope.
he wasn't there. Okay.
It was up and running. And he wasn't in the park yet. I was kind of like, well, as soon as you lose, you're not there. So I got one for the rest of us. But the cast member was very kind and let Ray come through, my husband, with us. But yeah, so it was just me and the 3 kiddos, went back to do Remy. We needed another bathroom break because my son refused to go to the bathroom the first time. And then we did the Encanto show, which was super cute. I've never seen that before. It's very chill, which I didn't realize. I was expecting bleachers or chairs, and really you're just hanging out on the lawn area on the ground, which was kind of nice from the kids' perspective. It's not formal. You can eat your snacks, and very interactive show, which was great. So my kiddos love Encanto, and that was really fun. At that point, my husband joined us. He got there right before the show started at 10:45. I was then able to I had already gotten the DOS pass for a test track, and we just kept our fingers crossed. So after that show, which again, I would highly recommend for anyone who just needs a sit down break or loves Encanto, we did go over to test track. And at that point, there was a hour and 15-minute wait for test track. And I think it took us a while to get on this time, even using the lightning lane. The elevators were down, so we ended up not using the stroller as a wheelchair in that line. And even the lightning lane took about 35 minutes. Someone had gotten sick, I think, right before one of the car entrances, and so they were doing cleanup duty. One of the cast members, I felt very bad for them, but that, I think, slowed down a lot of the wait time for both the lightning lane and standby lanes. So it took us 35 minutes to get on the ride, which was fun. Such a fun ride. I think that was my favorite ride next to Guardians. I think Guardians was my absolute favorite, but my youngest, test track, hands down, was her favorite, and my son loved it as well.
Well, that corner of the park is great for you then.
Yeah, exactly. Just do Guardians, test track, hit up some soda. It was great.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we had that Guardians single lightning lane pass as well. And so we went straight from test track to do Guardians. Again, I think we were probably about 30 minutes late from that. I didn't write down exactly when I had it from the pre-trip, but did the rider swap. I took the 2 big kids this time, and my husband just walked around with our youngest, and then he went and took my son, because my son was definitely more into the Guardians ride than my 9-year-old. My 9-year-old liked it, but my son is just, full on, let's do fast rides. I was really hoping, I think this is why it was so cold. They never opened the Moana Journey. Is it Journey of Water or Journey of Imagination? I can't remember.
Journey of Water.
And I was really bummed about that, because I think my kids would have really loved it. And again, another place where they could have run around. And so I was hoping, I kept checking every 30 minutes, and they never opened that up, because originally I thought we'd head over that point. But instead we did Spaceship Earth. And this was one of the times where the ride broke down a couple times while we were both on it and then trying to get off. It was slightly traumatic for my older 2, because they are 7 and 9. They can ride independent of us. And so it was my husband, Celine, and myself in the back of one car, and they ended up getting placed in another car, and it broke down right before they could get off. And the cast members, you could physically get off where they stopped anyways, but because of safety concerns or just, rules, they wouldn't let them get off because they wanted them to move up one car spot. And my oldest was having a little bit of anxiety, even though my husband was right there. I had already walked down the ramp because my daughter was wanting to wander in that area. And so I was not there, but it took them about 20 minutes to get off their car, which I felt really bad. And if we'd been in the same car, it would not have been an issue, but lesson learned. We were all in the same car from then on. Just, it's a little stressful as a kid if you can't get off a ride and you see your parents, but you're stuck. So it was a good lesson.
Yeah, but it's scary.
Yes. So we didn't get off that until 1:15. And at that point, I wanted to go do the World Showcase. And my daughter and husband really wanted to get something warm. And so we went to the Japan area and Katsuki Grill, I think that's how you say it, for some ramen. Again, we used 2 of the quick service adult meals because my 9-year-old eats more than I do sometimes. And so they ordered 2 of that. I was walking around with my youngest and my son. He wanted to go shop in Japan. He's a big Pokemon fan, and so he wanted to go into some of the shops and the stores at the World Showcase. They're so incredible. I was kind of hoping my youngest would fall asleep, but she didn't. So trying to keep her hands in. But we did some shopping and just hung out in the World Showcase for a little bit. We saw the drummers in Japan, which is really cool. Definitely more crowded this afternoon than on Saturday, but we really didn't get to experience much of the World Showcase on Saturday just because it was so cold. At this point, I wanted to get some fish and chips. I had heard good things about it over in England, so I went there with my son and my youngest. And my son had just had a sandwich. He's a little bit of a pickier eater, and so he also wanted the Dole Whip, which is over there. And so we ended up getting those. But at this point, my son somehow lost his magic band. This was the first time we had done magic bands, and definitely it makes it much more streamlined and efficient. So I think I would still do it. But that was very annoying. So we needed to pop on over to guest relations later in the day just to make sure no one was using our credit card, or there's a pin attached to it, obviously, but just wanted to make sure it didn't get to the wrong hands. So that was an added step in our trip that I wasn't planning. But we got the Dole Whip, we got the fish and chips, which was delicious. And then we just kind of hung out for up until about 5 o'clock. They had the Lorcana Quest because of the Festival of the Arts. My husband and kiddos really liked that Disney game. It's probably one of the few times I've seen like true joy in my husband's face at Disneyland or Disney World. Usually it's more like tolerating it, but he had a blast doing that. And essentially there's different stations throughout the park set up where you can get different stickers. And at the end of it, you get special cards only given out at Disney World. And then they do give you a couple packs for that. So for anyone who likes Lorcana, it was really cool for them to do. And while they were doing this is when I was going to guest relations and trying to figure out the magic band situation. So they did that for about an hour. And then I happened to see Asha right outside of one of the areas they were getting their last card at. So I popped in line to do that. And then as they came out, I was the last person in line. And so the kids got their little autographs and signatures, which was fun. And they also skipped waiting in line, which, was a win-win for them. We had the 5:45 dinner at Norway. And so on the way over there, we ended up actually doing the Tres Caballeros ride. So we had about 30 minutes to kill at that point. It was about 5 o'clock. And it was not crowded at all. They actually let us rewrite it. We rode it 3 times, which I was good by the 3rd time. But my kids love that ride, the Tres Caballeros ride in Mexico Pavilion. And so we didn't really have anything else to do between then and Norway. And so we just rode it 3 times.
I think that's fun when if your kids are into it and they can just say, let's go again.
Yeah. Yes. And it's not I love Small World, don't get me wrong, but I could not do Small World 3 times over and over. So it's not quite, yes, I don't know the word for it, but it was definitely more tolerable than Small World 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, we went over to Norway, and you're going to have to help me out. So again, I do not know how to pronounce it. The
Akershus, but you can say, you can call it whatever you want.
We got in pretty quickly. It was about a 5-minute wait. It was a longer meal. We didn't get done until about 7:30. But the characters, there were 5 characters, which I don't know if that's typical now. I think when we did a couple years ago, there was only 4. But it was awesome. The characters were interactive. The dinner was great. I probably would rather have done the breakfast meal, but again, my husband, he was really excited to do the dinner meal again. And so anything that gets him excited about Disney, I'm all about. It was, what do they have? Cinderella and Belle and Tiana, Sleeping Beauty, and then Snow White was there. So those were the 5 characters. So that was really fun. And it was, normally 3 or 4, but the 5th character, I feel like it just added that extra something for my daughter, at least, and all the kids, but to get you through a sit-down meal that long.
That's kind of a lot of characters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't realize it was 5 characters, so it was great.
Yeah.
And this was incredible. I really liked it. I know I see mixed reviews on it, but there's chicken and meatballs and mac and cheese and salmon, and the bread's incredible. We really liked that meal, but obviously everyone has their own opinions.
You had mentioned at least one of your kids was a little bit of a picky eater, but it sounds like this was fine.
I would say it was fine for the 5 of us. Rowan had, my 7-year-old, very picky. He ate the bread, and we forced some of the mac and cheese on him. He's definitely a Kraft mac and cheese kid, which we've tried really hard to get over. Haven't yet. So there was enough for him to eat. He didn't love it, but the bread was fine. And I didn't realize it was all you can eat. They bring out platter style. It's not buffet style, but if you had wanted more, then they'll bring you out more. And so when I found that out, then I asked my son if he wanted more of the rolls, and he said he was full enough. So we all got enough food. Definitely did not need more food.
Good.
Yes. During this, I actually got another DAS pass for Test Track. At that point, it had about a 90-minute wait as well. So since I did that right when we got into the dinner, we had that waiting for us when we got out of the dinner. And so we're in line for Test Track 8:30. Thankfully, this time we got right on. It was only about a 10-minute wait to get onto the ride. I think for the standby lane, it was 75 minutes at that point. And so we had a blast doing that. It was cold. I mean, it was really cold. My face was stinging going outside doing it, but it was a fun ride for sure. And then Mission Space only had a 10-minute wait at that point, and my son really wanted to do it. My daughter and husband were like, no, not doing it. So we did go do it. We did the easier one. I wasn't ready to commit to the orange level. I've never done that before. And afterwards, he's like, oh, I totally could have done the orange one. I'm like, I think we're good for now. Next time we come back, we'll try it. But
The problem with the green versus the orange is that one is almost too mild and the other one's a little intense. So it's like there's,
yeah,
it's kind of extreme.
it'd be nice if they had, yes, a yellow or a middle one.
Something between, yes.
I didn't want anyone getting sick or ruining the day. It had been a really good day overall. And at this point, I actually got, right before we popped on the Mission Space, I actually got another DAS Pass for Test Track. That's how much my kids loved it. So we went on and did that again. Thankfully, no issues with the lightning lane. And then once we did that, the kids wanted to do soaring one more time. And so I got a DAS Pass. We kind of slowly meandered over there. They didn't really want to do Nemo. So like, oh, we could go do Nemo and then do soaring. They were done with that. And so we went to do soaring. At that point, standby lane was only 30 minutes, but we had the DAS Pass, so got right on. It is, I think, looking at times, I've never done that before. It is shocking how long the boarding takes and the pre-show and a lot of these rides where you think you're so efficient with your time, which is totally fine, but it does eat up a lot of your time in the day where you think, hey, where did all that time go? And soaring is another one of those, right? Guardians is another one of those rides where, it's 30 minutes by the time you get in line, get through the pre-show, and then get on the ride, which I never really paid attention to before.
Yeah, and it's one of the reasons that like the after hours events that take place there may not feel as much worth it because you spend so much time and on one ride. It's just harder to rack up the number of rides during something like that.
Yeah, for sure. And that's a good point. And I failed to mention, because at this point we were using those deluxe evening hours because normally Epcot closes at 9. They were letting us stay till 11. And I definitely didn't feel, I don't know if in the future I would arrange my trip to exclusively use that unless it made sense at Epcot. I think at Magic Kingdom, it totally made a huge difference. And it was a game changer. Epcot, like you're saying, because of the pre-shows and just the distance between rides, I didn't really see it being super beneficial unless like, hey, that was your one day and you want to get it all in, then I could see that being helpful. I mean, we still had fun. And I mean, it was a great time. And so it wasn't a bad thing, but definitely was not as helpful as I felt like Magic Kingdom was, those extra hours.
Yeah, 100%.
So at that point, Lisi and Celine, my 9-year-old and my 4-year-old, were about done. My husband was way past done, but my son wanted to try and do Guardians. So that I will say Guardians was only a 30-minute wait. At this point, it's 10:30 at night. And so I was pretty tired, but I'm like, all right, let's go do it. So I took my son to do Guardians, and then my husband actually got a DAS Pass. So on the way out, they did Remy one more time, and then they went home. And Rowan, my 7-year-old, and I went and did Guardians. It was pretty accurate. It was a 30-minute wait. It was fun to walk through the lines because you don't get to do that when you are using the lightning lane. You get to see all the stuff. And Rowan was thrilled that we did it. It definitely was a long walk back because you're literally walking from one of the farthest parts of Epcot to Beach Club through the international gate. So we were off Guardians at 11:15. It was a 30-minute walk with my 7-year-old to our hotel. At the hotel, 11:45. And I think that was the day we walked about 11 miles. It was a lot.
That is a lot. You mentioned the pre-trip that you run marathons, and it's coming in handy on days like this.
Yes. And I was shocked at how well my kids did. They don't run marathons, but they did great. And this is the first time we only did the single stroller. In the past, we've always done the double stroller. But we pretty much told my 7-year-old that we have the ride aboard, like the board on the back that he could hop on, which he did use sometimes. But, you're a big kid. You got to be walking. If you need a break, we can do it. But overall, the kids, they amazed me at how well they did with the walking.
Okay, so that was a late night for you and your son especially. So I'm curious to hear how the next day went. It was Tuesday, February 3rd, where you had Hollywood Studios planned.
Yes. And this is one of those areas where I had hoped to rope drop, and it just was not happening. I mean, the kids didn't get to bed. Rowan especially didn't get to bed till midnight. And as I was going to bed on Monday night, I was just thinking, I really would love to rope drop.
You discovered you couldn't use the DAS system during early entry. So did that play into it at all?
That definitely played into it as well. I feel like Hollywood Studios is one of those areas that even when you're going and rope dropping, lines get so long so quickly that it helps you on that first or second ride for sure. And then after that, the waits are already at an hour. And so, yes, that was my other thought is since I can't use the DAS pass for the early morning hours, we're not going to stress about getting out the door.
Mhm. So did you just let people wake up whenever they wanted to?
Pretty much. And my kids do wake up early, so I wasn't expecting to sleep in too late. So the kids woke up at 7. So even though we didn't rope drop, we did actually make pretty good time. We ended up walking, which took a good 25 minutes or so. We left at 8:36. We were at Hollywood Studios by 9 through security by like 9:05. So pretty efficient. All the rides at that point had long lines. And we did have the DOS pass. And this is one of the few days we also did the lightning lane as well, the multi-pass, just because, again, I didn't know how my daughter would do with standing up tall, as well as, this was going to be day 3 of park, so I didn't know how well she would do. So we had both those to rely on.
So
Um,
to that point, because it just occurred to me why you might be using light lanes. So if your daughter wasn't willing or able to ride, you had the lightning lanes as a backup so everyone else could.
exactly. Yep.
Okay.
And
Got it.
because the lines get so crazy long at Hollywood Studios, I just didn't want to risk not having that option. Because by the time we were in the park at 9:05, everything had to wait over 60 minutes. Every single ride, I think, except the Alien Swirling Saucer, and even that was like 35 minutes. So, and the park had just opened. So, just with that early morning drop, obviously, weather was nicer this day. I think it got up to about 65. So, it was a beautiful day. It was definitely worthwhile to have the lightning lane multi-path. I don't know honestly how you do Hollywood Studios without it, unless you're okay just saying I'm going to do 3 or 4 rides and stand in line and see some shows, which is fun too. It's just a different way to see it.
Totally depends on your goals. So
Yeah,
you basically got into the park and just immediately started booking DAS and or lightning lanes,
exactly. Yep.
or
Yeah.
you already
So
had lightning lanes
I
pre-booked.
had the lightning lanes. Yep, and those are pretty efficient. We had gotten, I think, the 9:30 Slinky Dog, and then I think after that we had like a 10:30 Toy Story and 11:30 Tower of Terror. I think is what we had originally. So because everything was so crazy long at that point, Olaf only had a 5-minute wait to meet him. And so he has a set spot. So we ended up doing that because we'd never met Olaf before. And we ended up, by the time we got over there, it was already a 15-minute wait. So I had booked a dock pass as we were walking over, just in case, just because sometimes that does happen. And even 10 minutes with my daughter makes a huge difference. So we actually just did use the DOS pass. We got right in, met him, which was so cute, so fun. Another of those characters where he gives you a postcard and doesn't sign the book, but still a great interaction with Olaf. And at that point, then we went to use our Slinky Dog Lightning Lane. So we got there at 9:35. We were off at 9:49. Again, the wait there was already 60 minutes for a standby lane. And so once we got off Slinky Dog, and this is one of the differences between Disney World and Disneyland, you have to badge in 2 places at Disney World oftentimes, which I don't understand why, but you can't book a lightning lane until after you
Yeah.
do that.
It's to prevent line cutters
Okay.
because they'll cut between the first and the second one. You know what I mean? Like after you tap in,
Interesting.
then they'll
Okay.
hop over to the other side, so they double check you on some of the rides.
I see. Okay.
But
So that
but
makes
to your
sense.
point, that is annoying because you're like, am I booking another one now, or do I have to do another tap?
Yeah, and with lightning lanes, you can book right away, but not until you get to that second tap, and I didn't know which ones had second taps or didn't,
Mhm.
and so at this point, 4 of the 5 of us had magic bands, my son didn't, so I'm, like, pulling out the card, which is one of those reasons why I think magic bands, especially if you're there for a week, does make a big difference, just being inefficient and not losing that, cards, because if you're pulling them out so often, you can lose those cards pretty easily, I would
To make it
imagine.
to make it even more confusing, you could go on a ride today and it'll have 2 taps, and tomorrow it'll just be 1.
Oh my
So
goodness.
it's not always predictable.
That is really hard. In Disneyland, they don't have that. I can't think of a single ride that they do that, and maybe that's changing, I don't know, but we just went a couple months ago, and you tap in and you're good, and then you can book another lightning lane or, like, the DOS pass, you have to wait 10 minutes, and so that made that tricky with the DOS pass because by the time you get on the ride, then you just forget about it, and so you have to wait the 10 minutes, and it was just hard to, like, be in the moment
Mhm.
instead of worrying about, "Okay, when do I need to get the next DOS pass or lightning lane with the double tap?" So that made it a little bit tricky, but again, gratefully had it. Obviously, not a huge issue, but the second tap did mess with my strategy a little bit,
Mhm.
just in remembering, just that I would be in the moment and then I'd be like, "Oh, I didn't get another DOS pass." So
Yeah.
or lightning lane. So I did get a lightning lane at that point for Rock and Roller Coaster for noon. And so did Slinky Dog, went over to Alien Swirling Saucer, and we used a DOS pass. Same thing. As soon as we got off the ride, I had gotten it for 5 minutes. By the time we got over there, the wait was 15. So it had dropped originally from the opening to 15 minutes at this point. But we did the Alien Swirling Saucer, which is just a cute ride. So fun and definitely more tame than like the teacups. So my kids love that ride.
Mm-hmm.
And then the drum corps came by, which was fun. We didn't have anything else until 10:20, so we just watched that, had a bathroom break, took snacks. I love Toy Story Land. I think the theming is incredible, so it's fun just to hang out there and walk around a bit. And so we went at that point and tapped into Toy Story, used our lightning lane at 10:20. That was another of the rides that thankfully we did have the stroller as a wheelchair, because one of the cars or two of the cars went, there was some error, some issue with some of the cars. And they said there was some electrical issue where half the rides were running, half the rides were not. And so it took 30 minutes to get on the ride, even with the lightning lane. So we were on the ride at 10:50, off the ride at 10:55. And so while I was standing in line waiting for that, we did get a DOS pass for the Mickey and Minnie runway for 11:15. And by the time we got off Toy Story, that wait was up to 90 minutes. So at this point, all the lines had tons, long, long lines. It's middle of the day, beautiful day. So we did get that pass. We kind of walked over, meandered again, had a snack break. Didn't really have any other plans or lightning lanes until around noon. So we just kind of wandered over there until we could get in. We got in there. Oh, this was one of the times where actually the wait had dropped. And so I rebooked it and we were able to so with DOS Pass Lightning Lane, I think same thing. You can reschedule and rebook. And the wait had dropped. And so we actually were able to get on Mickey and Minnie's at 11:30 instead of 11:50. And so once we got off of that, no wait, the standby line was great, no issues there. We were able to book a DOS pass for the Millennium Falcon, which that had a 2-hour wait at that point. And so this is getting into lunchtime and all that. So it was okay. It was going to be our after nap ride anyways. And so booked that for later, went over to Tower of Terror, used our lightning lane. We were in line 11:40 and off at 12:10. And then at that point, I rebooked the Millennium Falcon because, again, the lines had dropped, which it didn't make a big difference because we were using it for later, but just in case. So we were out of the Tower of Terror line at 12:05, another bathroom break. At that point, the wait was 75 minutes, Tower of Terror. And so we went over and used our lightning lane for roller coaster, the rock and roller coaster, which was fun. My kids had not done that one yet. They were too short last time and they loved it. Such a quick ride, such a short ride, but with lightning lane, I love that ride and I'm excited to see what they're doing. They're turning into Muppets or something, right? So very fun ride. I did that. My husband sat that one out. So we actually didn't do a rider swap for that. He did not want to ride that. He gets dizzy on it seems very random. I have to write down what he gets dizzy on because it's not always the same type of rides.
No, I'm fascinated. I've said this on the podcast so many times. I'm fascinated by what triggers people because it's not always the same thing.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yep. And some rides where I think he would get dizzy, he doesn't. And then it's the opposite. Like Everest, he gets dizzy on, he'll do it because he loves it. But yeah, it is interesting. Everyone's a little bit different.
Mhm.
At this point, kids needed a break, and I had promised my husband as much time as he wanted in Star Wars Land. Usually, when we're at Disneyland, I'm like, all right, we've got an hour, and that's it. But I was trying to be flexible on this trip, and he loves Star Wars. My son is getting into it, and it's also like the best nap land, I think, in all of Disneyland or Disney World. It's just quieter, a little bit more chill, not as many crying children and all that fun stuff, which we contribute to as well. And so this was her best stroller nap. She slept for like an hour and a half at this point. We're just chilling in Star Wars Land, which is great.
Nice. I was paying attention to what you're doing because sometimes Disneyland people will skip the things that are so much alike. And
Uh-huh.
Galaxy's Edge is very similar.
It is, yeah, nearly identical because we had a week-long trip. Disneyland is, I feel, at least for us, is much more condensed. We usually go for 2 or 3 days. My best friend lives near there, so it's also visiting friends, and there's not as much flexibility, I feel like, because it's like, all right, we got to do it all in 2 or 3 days. Whereas Disney World, the way we structure this trip was a little bit more like, let's do more park days. Normally, I am building in rest days, which I didn't do as much this trip, and building in nap times and breaks. But our kids are getting to the point where the
the breaks at the hotel are not quite as needed during the day, as long as we do take some downtime. And Star Wars Land is quieter. I guess if you get overwhelmed or sensory overloaded, I feel like Star Wars Land is a little bit more tame compared to the rest of it. And again, I promised my husband he could do whatever he wanted in Star Wars Land until our reservation at 4:10 that night. And so that was what he and my son did. They hung out at Star Wars Land. We've got the Ronto wraps at Ronto Rooster. Is that what it's called?
Yep.
Yeah, and they were decent. They were good. The Docking Bay 7 had pasta for my kids. So again, this is one of those times that normally I would have brought in probably peanut butter sandwiches and called it with some chips. But with the dining plan, it was fun to try new food. And Docking Bay 7 had a lot for my kids, which I was surprised about. So, I mean, pasta, can't go wrong with that.
A little something for everybody there.
Yeah, got the blue milk for my son. He really wanted that. Tried the kettle corn. We did buy the popcorn bucket, which they don't have that at Disneyland for multiple uses, where at Disney World they do, from what I understand. So we did the refillable popcorn. We got the blue and I think red kettle corn. It was decent. It's kind of odd. I mean, it wasn't my favorite, but it was fun to try something different than butter popcorn. And then by the time my daughter woke up, we went in and did that DOS pass for the Millennium Falcon. So we were in line for that at 2, off at 2:30. And because Selene is 40 inches now, my 4.5-year-old, then I booked a DOS pass for Rise of the Resistance. So and that was for later in the evening as well. I think at that point there was a 2-hour wait. So at this point, I was kind of just stacking in the evening to see what we'd actually get to later in the evening.
Had you
My daughter,
considered, because she's so new to some of these rides, based on her height and just not being to Disney World before, is there anything that's bothering her, or is she just game for anything that she can ride?
I was shocked that she was pretty much game for everything except for Tower of Terror. And I think honestly, halfway through, she was like, no, no. I hear her sitting next to me, like, okay, there's nothing I can do. We're going to be fine. But at the end of the ride, she said again. And so she does have some verbal communication as well as some sign. And I think once she knew what to expect on that ride, she probably would have been fine to do it again. It was just, even if she'd been tall enough for like Space Mountain, I would not have taken her on that just because it's so dark. So I think it's more the dark than the fast that bothers her. The fast did not bother her at all. She loved it. But I think the drops in the dark, she was like, nah.
Well, Space Mountain has the added difficulty of she would be sitting by herself.
Yes,
At
exactly.
Disney, at Disney World, not at Disneyland. But.
Yes. Yep. No, exactly. So any of those rides where, yes, even if she was tall enough, that is one that I would not have put her on. And like you said, because you were not sitting next to her. So, and that's the plus of having the lightning lane for this day, because honestly, I really had no idea how she was going to tolerate some of these faster rides, because this is the first time she's been on 40-inch rides. She had what is it? The Chippendale roller coaster at Disneyland, which is kind of similar to like the Goofy ride at Magic Kingdom at Disney World. And she loved that. And she put her hands up and wanted to go on it multiple times. So I knew she liked some of that, but obviously every ride's going to be different.
Yeah, I mean, she's going on some big rides. So it feels like once she hit that 40-inch mark, she was very brave.
Yeah, I was surprised. I was not going to force her to do anything, but it is hard when you can't. We watched all the rides on YouTube and talked about them, but it's hard when you don't have a kiddo who can be like, yes, I want to do that, or absolutely not, I'm not going to do that. And we did not do Tower of Terror again. My kids actually did not, the older kids did not like that ride. They much preferred the Disneyland version of the Guardians version than the old school Tower of Terror in Disney World. So they were done after one time. And so I wasn't going to push it again.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
My oldest, my 9-year-old, was done with Star Wars Land at this point. And so we went to go do the Indiana Jones show at 3:15. We didn't use a DOS path. I think we had a lightning lane for this show. You didn't really need it. I did keep Celine in the stroller at this point. I used it as a wheelchair. And so we did get front row just because she was snacking and I wasn't sure how she was going to handle some of the loud noises of Indiana Jones. I was trying to push my oldest to, let's go see Frozen, or let's go see one of the other shows, Belle, Beauty and the Beast, but my oldest really wanted to see this. So Blaine did okay on that. She won't use headphones, so she just covers her ears. And I got her a Mickey ice cream bar, which they were totally fine with her eating. And so she's okay. My oldest loved the show, so I'm glad that she enjoyed that. Definitely a show with loud noises, though. But a great show. And I will say, and that's one of the things I had to change. Blaine, she doesn't like loud noises in general, but she usually loves movies and shows and Disney things. We didn't do as many shows as I thought we would do, because I think the shows in and of themselves, because there's not the distraction of the ride, were a little bit too much for Celine to do back to back. So, and I really wanted to do Fantasmic that night. And so I didn't want to push it. 'Cause originally I was like, oh, let's go do Frozen. Let's go do Belle. Let's do them all. Which one you don't have time for in one day.
but two, she was having so much fun with the rides that I didn't want to push it and then not be able to do Fantasmic at night.
Mm-hmm.
So we did that. We got a lightning lane for Star Tours. My husband and Rowan at this point were meeting Chewbacca. So originally they were going to meet us at Star Tours, but they wanted to hang out with Chewie for a little bit, which is totally fine. So we did Star Tours. They did that. And then we met at the Sci-Fi Diner at 410. And this is one of the few things I don't think I would go back there. I had read some mixed views, which you read on all restaurants, but the videos in and of themselves are very adult themed. I thought there'd be like a 50% mix of kids theme and 50% adults, and there definitely was not. And my two oldest are very sensitive to movies that are maybe not kid friendly. So when there's piercing sci-fi screams and things like that, by 15 minutes in, my son was like, I want to go and I'll leave. So I ended up caving, which I don't normally do, but we put on a Netflix show because he was not going to make it through. Even looking down, just all the screams, it's loud, it's dark. The food was okay. The service was okay. It was one of those times we wouldn't go back, and hopefully other people have better experience. But with young kids, at least for my kids, 9 and under, it was not where I would recommend going.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a bummer. I wanted to try it. I thought it'd be fun. It was good to do something I'd never done before, but lesson learned.
Mm-hmm. But
So,
this
it
is
was
a
okay.
Fantasmic dining package, so you also got your
It was.
vouchers for Fantasmic.
Exactly. So, I mean, that made it worth it. We had other options. When I booked, this was not the last one standing, but I didn't want to use 2 dining credits, which one of the options was. And then the one where the waitresses and waiters are kind of bossy. I didn't know if they were bossing my kids around. I don't remember the name of that one, but how they would handle if they would think it was a joke or not.
50s prime time.
Exactly. And I loved that growing up. I went there as a teenager. Thought it was hilarious. My 9-year-old gets a little sensitive though. And so after long days in the park, I could just see her like crying if
Yes.
one of them told her to get
Listen.
her elbows off the table.
That would be me. That would be me. I'm from Kansas City, where barbecue is the thing, and there's a place where you can go where they yell, and I would never go. Never. Because I'm like, I don't want to be yelled at. Quit talking to me, and I'm just trying to have my food. But yeah, so depends on your personality, how well some of these go over.
Yes, exactly. So, I mean, it was good from the reserve seating. My kids would not have tolerated all 3 of them sitting for an hour to get seats for Fantasmic or standing in line. So from that perspective, it was great. I had booked a DOS pass for Mickey and Minnie, so we were out at 5:40, which again, there was a Frozen show at 5:30. I was kind of bummed to miss, but I think, in retrospect, it was probably better just because Celine was having a blast and all the kids were having a blast with the rides. So we went into the Mickey and Minnie runway. The pre-show was actually broken. And so it was a very quick, like 5 minute from the time you got in line all the way through to the ride, which for someone who had not been on the ride before would be a bummer. For me, who, they have at Disneyland, Disney World, I was totally fine with that. My kids were bummed. I'm like, you've seen this before, but we got off very quickly. We were out of there. And then I booked Alien Saucers, Lightning Lanes, because at this point we had the DOS pass for Rise of the Resistance, and then the Alien Saucers, and then I had a Millennium Falcon's Lightning Lane for later. So we had staggered times at this point, mostly in Toy Story Land and Star Wars Land. And so we went to do the DOS pass, the Rise of Resistance. We were on at 6:25, off at 6:55. And then we went and used our Alien Saucer Lightning Lane. And I actually had been able to book for DOS pass at this point for Slinky Dog for later in the evening. The wait at that point, I believe, was only 60 minutes. So there's still a possibility we'd be able to use that with our DOS pass. The one show my daughter, after in the end, I had told her she could choose 2 shows. My son could have cared less about the shows. My oldest wanted to see them all. She wanted to do Villain. So that was her second choice. And so we walked over to do the Villain show, which Hook won, which I don't hear happening often. So that was kind of fun.
Normally it's Maleficent.
Yeah, it was Hook this time. So I like Maleficent songs better. By the time Hook was done, so I'm like, all right, that's enough of Hook singing. But it was a great show. I love the show. I thought it was well done. I actually left my phone in the show. I think I was trying to look at schedule, and I didn't put it in my pocket, fell off. And so we'd already walked past Terra Terra, and I'm like, oh, dang it, I don't have my phone. And thankfully, we were able to turn around, and the cast member was walking out with my phone right as we were coming out, thankfully, because that would have been catastrophic for many reasons, losing my phone.
You kind of need it.
Yeah. I honestly, at that point, I was like, okay, I'm just going to say a quick prayer because I don't know what we're going to do it with. Because my husband didn't even have the pass. I mean, that's how uninvested he was in this. So he had his bands. But thankfully, I recognized it quickly enough, and the cast member came out that I just unlocked it in front of her. She's like, all right, you're good to go. So after that little snafu, we did go back to Toy Story Land and use that DOS pass for Slinky Dog. We were in line at 8:20, off at 8:30. So very, again, no long wait in the Lightning Lane. And then did the Millennium Falcon, which at that point at 8:40 had a 40-minute wait, but we had that Lightning Lane booked. And this is one of those areas where having that Fantasmic dining plan was crucial because we didn't get off the ride until 9:09. And the kids, they wanted to do the ride, the Fantasmic show. Once they saw it, they're like, "Oh, this is so cool." I was the one who really wanted to do it. So I'm like, "All right, guys, this is a fast walk. We're walking quickly over there." We got there at like 9:22 or something, and then they had our seats saved for us, which I think they technically say they'll give up your seats after a certain amount of time, but they had seats for us. So we got to see the show.
Mhm. It's so yeah, the kids might be into the rides, but you also get to do things you like, so I'm glad you got to see
Exactly.
Fantasmic.
Yes. Well, and that's what I told my husband. The two things I wanted to do this trip, other than obviously have a great time with the family, was do Fantasmic and then see the Starlight Parade at Magic Kingdom. Because both of those I hadn't seen the Fantasmic one since I was like 16, so years and years ago. And then obviously I hadn't seen the Starlight Parade. And I got to do both of those so it was good.
And you said the kids liked it once they got to
Yeah.
watch it.
Once they got there, I mean, it was pretty cold. So we were breaking out snacks and like trying to put things under us. The bleachers were pretty cold. But once the show started, and again, they only had to wait 5 minutes. So it was not like they were waiting a whole heck of a lot of time. But it was a great show. It was fun. I mean, different than Disneyland one, but still a great show.
Yeah. Very different. You just mentioned it was cold, but I was going to say right before that, you hadn't talked so much about it being cold in those days. So was the cold reserved mostly just for the morning and night?
Yes. Yeah. I think we got up to about 65, 67. So during the day, it was beautiful. I think my daughter even got down to short sleeves. I was still in a sweater, but definitely not all the layers. And that's where I'm grateful for the stroller because people who don't have strollers, I know it's a pain, but you can like stuff things, especially layering in the bottom of the stroller. But at night and in the morning, it was manageable though. I mean, this was like a typical February temperature where it's cold in the morning, cold at night, but in the day, it's lovely.
Yes, which kind of ideal for
Yes. Yeah.
traveling this time of year. Okay, so Fantasmic was at the end of your night then?
Yep, that was it. We went back. We took the Skyliner back instead of walking. The kids wanted to sit, and the Skyliner's fun, and there wasn't that long of a line. And so we were back at the hotel by 10:40, and kids were out by 11. I think I fell asleep very shortly after.
I bet so. Big day. Okay, so next day was Wednesday, February 4th, and it was a sort of a relaxing morning, but you were also changing resorts.
Exactly. Yeah. So this was kind of our built-in pool day. We did get to use a pool. So, I mean, it was 71, 72 degrees for the high. So, I mean, it definitely is still a little chilly when you're out of the water, but still usable. One of the big draws, obviously, to Beach Club and Yacht Club is the pool. So I was really happy that we did get to use it at least for a couple hours. We had canceled the reservations that morning because we had done the Cape May on Sunday. And so we got up, we had breakfast in the room. I think I failed to mention we did do a grocery delivery from Publix on Saturday. And so whenever we weren't eating in the park, we did have groceries at home for like sandwiches or cereal or granola bars and things like that. So that was one of those days we did just do breakfast in the hotel. We hung out in the pool at the morning for a couple hours. We were we were kind of done with the dining plan at this point. We had eaten so much food, I felt like we needed to detox. So we could have gone out and gotten a quick service lunch, but honestly, just having a sandwich sounds great at this point.
I did mean to ask you about the grocery delivery at the beginning, but which was from Publix, you said. But did you still have those groceries with your resort transfer?
Yes, and they will transfer everything except for refrigerated groceries. So we kept the refrigerated bag with us, we really had gone through most of the milk at that point. I will say that's one thing that, and I read before that the beverage coolers are not fridges. So I was constantly like switching out and putting ice packs on it in the morning and night, just getting bags of ice because it was not very cold at the beach club, the beverage cooler. And I did not want food poisoning to have another trip. That seemed to be fine. The beverage cooler at the Contemporary was much cooler and felt like a fridge. But yes, we still had the groceries delivered, still had the food, and had everything transferred over that morning. And yes, I failed to mention that I got all of our bags packed except for one carry-on that had like our change of clothes from like the swimming after. And then I think one bag of refrigerated stuff and then the stroller we kept. Everything else we sent. And you have to do that by 11 or 11:30, which I didn't realize there was a cutoff time in the morning to send everything over.
Okay. I'm not sure I knew that either, so I'm making a note for myself.
Yeah. I didn't know that. We went back later to get some things from the we wanted to store some things. We'd actually brought in my daughter's oxygen just in case she got sick because at Disney World, you never know. And they would not accept it for transfer over because it's a medical device, but they would hold it. And so there was that confusion. But anyways, so yes, that's the only reason, at least at the beach club, 11 or 11:30 is your cutoff for transfers.
Okay, so you sent most of your stuff, but you kept a few things that you
Yeah.
needed or had.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I mean, we took the stroller with us to the pool, just had some snacks in it. We did get some ice cream. I got a milkshake. My husband got a milkshake. The kids got, I think, ice cream cones, just some of our last snack credits to use. And then we originally were going to just Uber or take a lift over to the Contemporary, but my daughter passed out in the stroller right as we finished swimming. So we went back in the afternoon and swam for another couple of hours. And technically, they don't have to let you keep the stroller open with the wheelchair pass, but if there's no one else there, they will let you keep the stroller in that wheelchair portion of the bus strapped in, and they won't make you fold it up, which I did not realize.
Okay, that's interesting. All right, so typically strollers get folded, wheelchairs get rolled on, and
Hmm.
people get strapped in. But
Hmm.
because your daughter's stroller was her wheelchair, she could sometimes, you said, just be used
I
as
think
a
it was the
wheelchair.
discretion of the bus driver because if you look online, it will say you are not supposed to do that because it's not a fully ADA.
Right.
It's not a wheelchair.
It's
It's
not
not.
actually
It's
a
not a
wheelchair.
licensed wheelchair. Yes. And I'd asked the driver on a previous one just what they usually did, and they I never had a bus driver tell me no. We did fold it up to Disney Springs there and back because there were other people who had more limited mobility than my daughter. Obviously, my daughter can I shouldn't say obviously. My daughter can walk. She just fatigues very easily and she eloped. So those are her big safety things, which on a bus is problematic. She did want to drive the bus on Disney Springs Day where we were holding her back. And anyways, it was eventful, but we made it work. But so for those days, Disney Springs, we folded the stroller. But they had said that if I wanted to wait for the next bus, we could have and then not folded up the stroller.
Okay, so on this day, your daughter was asleep.
She was. And so I was praying that there's no one else who needed those spots and we could just roll on the bus. And again, obviously, totally understand. We've got two other neurotypical kids. We've done this before that getting on and off the bus with a stroller is just not ideal for anyone. But thankfully, there was no one else who needed it. And so we could roll the stroller on, get her strapped in the wheelchair spot. And they let her sleep all the way until we got to the Magic Kingdom. So we took the bus to Magic Kingdom since that's a 5-minute walk to the Contemporary.
Okay.
Saved us a little bit of money. Saved us, it would have been like a 30-minute or $30 Uber ride. But what I didn't realize is you have to go through security at Magic Kingdom to get to the Contemporary. So that was one of those learning curves where I'm like, all right, well, let's pull out the carry on and the oxygen and all that fun stuff. So security took a little bit longer. I felt really bad for the security guard. Thankfully, I mean, it was a quieter afternoon. It was 3 o'clock, not a lot of people coming in, but we probably Ubered if we had known that.
Yes, and it didn't used to be like that.
Really?
So they changed the security. It's been some years, but before that, it's because all the resorts have their own security now, and so when you leave Magic Kingdom, you have to go through. I don't know, but it used to be easier, basically.
It was a learning curve. So anyways, that took about 20 minutes. And at that point, I hadn't planned on badging in into Magic Kingdom because this is kind of like our resort hop day, split stay, pool day, chill day, but we had the deluxe hours in the evening that I wanted to go to.
Hmm.
And in the past, is something I've never done before. I've always been like rest day. Everyone needs a rest day, which I think is true. But with the 3 or 4 hours in the evening that we did, it ended up being okay. But since we were already there, we had to go through security. We couldn't get any DOS pass or lightning lane, which we weren't using that night unless we tapped in. So my husband was not thrilled, but I'm like, look, it's right there. Let's just go over, tap in. It'll take us 5 extra minutes. Half of us stayed with our stuff, half of us tapped in, and then we switched so that I could get a DAS pass for the 7 mine trains for later that night.
Okay. Yes,
So,
which might feel familiar to you as a Disneyland person that you have to tap in order to start booking things with the lighting lane system out there. Except you were
right.
doing it for the DAS system.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So, so it ended up being okay because otherwise we probably would not have ridden the 7 mines train later that. Maybe we would have. I guess it did go down in time, but I didn't know that. So we got it. We walked to the Contemporary with all our stuff. It was a 5-minute walk. So it's one of those other things. That probably would have Ubered next time, but now we know. Saved us $30. Got checked in. And we moved over here, one, just because it's a walking distance to the hotel I'd stayed at the Contemporary before, and two, I had a conference the next morning. And so these hotel rooms in the garden wing, one, they're cheaper than the main tower to begin with, and then they are subsidized for the conference, and my work covered the rest of the hotel stays,
Yeah,
which is nice.
it's a deal.
Yeah. It is. It definitely is. You get some learning, lots of fun. It's more affordable, and it's close to the park, which is great. They literally put us in the furthest room back of the garden wing. I mean, literally, I think there was 2 rooms further for us, and so it was definitely a little bit of a trek every single day. So yes, we were literally in the furthest room back. And something that I didn't realize is we haven't stayed in the garden wing since they refurbished it, is that most of the showers in the garden wing do not have a bathtub, which to me seems quite silly considering a large demographic of Disney World and Disneyland are children. I'm a Disney adult. I love going without kids, and I will own that. But considering you see on the reservations and they ask you your kids' ages, I was shocked to find that there was no bathtub when we got in, which might not seem like the end of the world, and it wasn't. But especially when I have a 4-year-old with Down syndrome, trying to give her a shower, it was not ideal. So I did try and call. And I will say this one, a few times with Disney, I've been disappointed in their service. And not that obviously they can do everything to change it. And, maybe they absolutely had nothing. But when I called, they said because I was with the conference that they couldn't do anything to change the room, that there was a set contract. And again, I don't know the ins and outs of Disney business, but I got online afterwards and there were rooms available in the main tower that had bathtubs. And so to me, it just doesn't make sense. I think it'd be very easy. I'm not asking to go in the main tower because of convenience. I can walk, I run marathons, it's fine. It was the fact that I literally felt like I was waterboarding my daughter in the shower every day.
Yeah,
So that was interesting to find out.
I think that when the conferences book rooms like this, that's something that they should be told if they're not already by Disney, because at the
Mhm.
Coronado Springs and the tower over there, they don't have bathtubs either. But it's it's the convention center hotel combo. They assume it's going to be a lot of adults, so they don't.
Okay.
But the people that need bathtubs need to know that.
Yeah. It needs to say that somewhere that this is
Yeah.
a shower or,
Mhm.
ADA accessible. Anyway, yes, like you said, I guess I should have asked that question. Most hotels I ask if I don't see it, and Disney World I just assumed that
Yeah.
they would have bathtubs.
Yeah.
So, anyways, good to know further down the road. I mean, obviously, the next time we go, the kids will be older, won't be quite as traumatic, but what the service, like, usually it's like, oh, I'm so sorry. And just the whole conversation I felt was a little bit lacking in the Disney magic. And part of that was probably my frustration and the fact that this is going to complicate our next couple days with our daughter. But, anyways, that was really the only issue. We did get to see, because we were looking at the water where our room was, the electric water parade. So that was one plus that they have every night. So looking at the bright side of it. But it was a very far back room and there's no bathtub. So
Mhm.
if you have kids, I wouldn't recommend the garden wing if they're still taking baths, and that's the problem.
Yes. Good to know.
Yeah. So we were in our room at the Contemporary 4:15. We were kind of didn't take long to check in at all. We had that little snafu with the trying to get a different room. They didn't have anything, so we did end up just eating. I think that was the night we just ate in our room as well. I don't have anything mentioned, so I think we just did tortillas and cheese and tuna sandwiches and something, whatever we had in our room. We left.
Can I ask you
Oh
about
yes,
1900 Park Fair?
yes. Was that, let's see. Oh, that was that night. Thank you. I didn't even mention that. Thank you so much. I was like, where do we do it at 3 hours? So we actually take that back. So I think that was our lunch. And then we got out of the hotel room at 4:45, and we were going to be late at this point with everything that went down and trying to get the room change and stuff. I knew we were going to be late. And so we had to decide if we were going to walk or take the monorail. Kids really wanted to do the monorail. Looking back, I probably should have walked. It'd probably been faster, but we ended up doing the monorail, which was fun. The kids had fun, and we got to our 1900 Parks there 20 minutes late. So as soon as we got off the monorail, I'm like trying to, check in. You can't, 'cause you're too far away. I'm like, hey guys, there's a chance that they turn us away because we are officially late at this point. And thankfully, they were super kind. They got us in. We actually waited the least amount of time to get into our seat than any other ones that we were on time for. I think we waited like 3 minutes and they got us back for that. And we had never eaten here as well. And so we got seated. This one was neat because you had Mirabelle from Encanto, Aladdin, which is great for my son, Tiana in her like more chill attire. I don't remember what they call it, but not her fancy dress. And then I think we had Cinderella as well. So we got to see Cinderella. So we definitely hit up the characters with that. The food was good. I mentioned before, I think Ray and I were both like, we've had so much food. I can't eat anything else, but it was delicious. My kids ate, all three of my kids found something that they really enjoyed. And so the character interactions are fantastic. I would definitely recommend that. I think that and Cape May are some of my new favorite spots. In the past, we've always done like Crystal Palace and Magic Kingdom. And food wise, I think that the 1900 Park Fair and Cape May are better, in my opinion, than like the Crystal Palace. And Chef Mickey, like I said, is great. It's just loud. So I thought these were quieter events.
Well, I was going to ask you about the loudness of 1900 Park Fair. So it didn't hit you as being a loud one.
They have two separate rooms. They're connected, but there's some sort of division. We were not in the loud area by the food. We lucked out actually being in the furthest back corner next to where the restrooms are. And so it was definitely quieter where we were sat. I think if we were seated closer to the food, it was a lot more echoey and loud in that area. So if sound is a bigger concern, you could probably ask to be seated towards the back, and it was much quieter.
Mm-hmm.
It also didn't seem like a very busy day. I saw them accepting some walk-ups as we were waiting those couple minutes to get seated.
It might have worked in your favor that you were a little before the like prime dinner time as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's true.
So
our kids eat early, so it just worked well for us.
Yes, I'm glad that you guys enjoyed that one.
Thank you. Yeah, and thanks for reminding me about that. I had such a great time. I didn't write it down, I guess.
Where did you go from?
So that was we were there for about an hour, so a little bit quicker than some of our other character dining, but we got through security at 7 into Magic Kingdom 7:15, and we had that lightning lane for Tron. So that was one of the things that, when we decided to make this more of a chill day, that was hard for me because I'm like, oh, let's just go to the parks and have fun. But the kids we all needed some downtime. It was good. But when we did the dinner, I realized it was just probably gonna be mostly that extended evening hours. So we were in the park from about 7 till 11-ish. Most of that time was that deluxe evening hours from the 9 to 11 o'clock. And I did find that it was much more valuable to do the extra hour in Magic Kingdom. There's so many rides. The ride wait times dropped significantly, I think, because there's a lot more people disperse over more rides. And you didn't need Lightning Lane or DOS Pass or anything like that for the evening hours with the deluxe evening hours at Magic Kingdom. So I would definitely do that again. Epcot, we would see.
Yeah, it makes me sad that the time of like August through December when there's lots of Halloween parties and Christmas parties, they will switch the extra evening hours over to a different park. And I always feel bad for the deluxe guests because I'm like, Magic Kingdom is really the best one.
Yeah, I'd imagine Animal Kingdom's the same in Hollywood Studios just because there's not as many rides that you're really not utilizing it as well.
Yeah, Magic Kingdom, it's hard to beat that one.
Yeah. No, it was great. I loved it. And that was the nice thing is, Selena had been awesome and she did a great job. I mean, she enjoyed the whole trip. She did fantastic. She lasted later than I thought she would every night. But this is one of those times where I'm like, all right, we don't need to push her past. And part of it is just so Ray could participate as well. In the beginning, I had looked at maybe doing one of the babysitters, but my husband was like, oh no, I'm fine. Please, I'm done. We're good. So we didn't end up doing that. But the first thing that we did when we got into Magic Kingdom was we used that lightning lane. So I'd bought in one Tron, a single pass lightning lane for all of us to use. I got in 2 for Guardians because I heard that was like the best of all the rides. And I was agree. I like Guardians more than Tron, but Tron's a great ride. It's just short. It's just so short.
I just posted a short video on social media of it, and it fit into a 1-minute video because it's literally 1 minute.
That's hilarious. I'm gonna have to look at it. But it's very true. And I mean, by the time you get through the pre-boarding, you have to put everything into that locker, which I had forgotten about. I should have left my bag with Ray. I mean, that takes more time than actually getting on the actual ride and finishing the ride. But we did the rider swap for that. So I took the 2 kids and then Ray hung out with Celine. I think they went and did the carousel while we did that. And then Ray came back and took Rowan. Because again, Lacey, my 9-year-old, was okay not going on it twice. The deal was she was going to get to do Avatar later in the trip.
twice. And so he did that. And Lisi wanted to do People Mover. And since it was right there, we didn't even use a DOS pass or Lightning Lane. We didn't have Lightning Lane that days, but we just walked on, got on at 8:15. It's a longer ride. So we got off about 8:25. And then we went and did the teacups because Ray and Rowan were still doing the Tron ride. And then Seven Doors had actually gone down earlier in the day. We weren't in the park. But so similar with Lightning Lanes, the DOS path turns into like a multi experience, just extra path that goes down.
Uh-huh.
And so we had booked, I failed to mention when we got into the park, the Winnie the Pooh ride, which that's another difference between Disneyland and Disney World. Disneyland is off into the corner. And so it's not a very popular ride. Usually it's like 20 minutes or less. Whereas Disney World, holy cow, it's like 40 minutes all times, which is shocking. It's a cute ride, but not something I was used to.
That is such an interesting dynamic. I feel like that Winnie the Pooh ride's also much more popular in the last year. I'm not entirely sure why.
Is it? Yeah. I mean, it's cute. I mean,
I know,
very
but
cute
it's like
ride.
higher wait times and harder. It's harder to get that as a lightning lane for a lot of people, and
Yeah.
that didn't expect that.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. And there hasn't been any like new movies or anything to make it more popular. So that is very interesting.
Right.
Well, so at this point, Ray had met up with us, and so we all got to do Winnie the Pooh with the DOS line. And then because Seven Mine Train was working again, we actually could just go pop in and do that Seven Mine Train. At this point, it was 8:30 ish at night, and it was a 40-minute wait just in the standby lane. So it was nice to have that DOS pass. And we actually, it took some time. The lightning lane was backed up probably because it had been down for quite a bit of the afternoon. So we actually didn't get on the ride until 9 o'clock. And so I loved it because the fireworks are going off and it was great. My youngest does not love fireworks, so that was not ideal for her at the end. She was loving it. And then the last half, the fireworks started and she was ready to be done. And it is loud. I would say from like fireworks perspective, if your kids or anyone, adult, kid, whoever, does not like loud signs, Fantasyland is not the place to be for
Mhm.
fireworks because it was the loudest that I saw or heard.
You're right in the middle of the action there.
Yeah, and they shut down the carousel. I try to think if they shut anything else down, but we were trying to get out of that as quickly as possible. And so normally I would not have done Small World during the extra out evening hours, but that was right there. And like I didn't know where to go that would be quieter. So we just popped in the Small World. There was no wait line. We just got in. So at this point, the park had closed for everyone except for the evening hour, the last evening hour guest. And so that got us out of the very loud part of it. And it's cute. I mean, it's a fun ride. We would have done it. We did it again on another day. But when you think about capitalizing those 2 extra hours, Small World's not one that I would typically choose to do. It
Yeah.
was all good. It's cute.
Hmm.
So we did that. And then I had gotten a DOS pass. DOS pass does work for extended evening hours, at least for the deluxe evening hours. So how they pick and choose, I don't know. But we'd gotten the Peter Pan ride. We did that. And at that point, Celine was done. She was tired, which was a great night for her to be tired because, we had less crowds to deal with. And I hope she would last a little bit longer just because she could walk around more and like be a little bit more free because there weren't as many people. But we weren't going to push it. So Ray took her home. And at this point, Space Mountain was only a 5-minute wait at 9:45. So we went and rode. My daughter and my son, my 9-year-old and 7-year-old, went and did Space Mountain. We rode it twice. Let's see, we did Tomorrow Speedway, which only had a 5-minute wait. We did a Seven Mine Train, only 20-minute wait. We did a Peter Pan again. It was only a 5-minute wait. And then we debated doing Tron because it was only a 30-minute wait, but my daughter was done. My 9-year-old was like, I need to go to sleep. And to her credit, she's been walking every single day.
Mhm.
My son got to utilize the rider board. So we lasted until I think 10:50. And so I would have loved to go hop on Tron because I hadn't bought any other lines and done, it again, but she was done. So went back to the hotel and the kids were asleep by 11:45. And we did walk, which monorail walking, it depends, I think, on the lines for the monorail, what is quicker, but it's really only like a 7-minute walk to the Contemporary. And we were a 5-minute additional walk since we were all the way in the far back garden wing.
Yeah, that's what I
But
was gonna say. It was extra long for you, but
so I think so. It's more like 15 as opposed to like 7, but the kids did fantastic and it was a great day and definitely love those evening hours at Magic Kingdom.
yes, I'm glad that that was worth it for you to have been there.
Yeah.
More than Epcot, perhaps. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So the next day was Thursday, February 5th, and you had some conference time.
Yep. Yeah. And this is one of the things that I changed when the weather was kind of crazy. It was a colder day on Thursday, a conference day. Originally, I was like, let's just do Magic Kingdom in the afternoon. But then also Dinosaur, it had closed. So that ride was down as of Saturday when we were there. So there was less rides. It was colder. So we ended up doing Animal Kingdom this day. But I did the conference in the morning, which was super easy just to pop on over. I did that until 11. Ray hung out with the kids. I think they really just watched a movie and chilled and like needed some decompress time. Had some breakfast in the hotel because at this point our dining plan was done. And so they just had a chill morning, which is great, much needed. And then we went over, he brought the kids down and met at 11 right after my conference was done. And we took the bus over, and this is one of the times we folded up the stroller because there were other people waiting. Took the bus over at 11:07, and we were at Animal Kingdom through security at 11:30.
Mhm.
So I think in retrospect, I didn't realize how invested my daughter would be in the Wilderness Explorer badges. So they have a lot of fun, like different stations at Animal Kingdom. My daughter loved it, and I think we could have utilized a full day at Animal Kingdom. So had I known that plus the rides, I probably would have stuck to the original plan. But with so few rides, I was like, oh, I hate to miss out on a whole day of Magic Kingdom. But my daughter got in line to get her little badge thing for the Wilderness Explorer thing. I got a DOS pass for the Utopia. So we popped in and did that. There was no service, at least for T-Mobile, in the Zootopia theater because I was trying to get another DOS pass when we were sitting there waiting for the show to start. So just FYI, for T-Mobile, there's not service while seeing Zootopia. And that's again one of those areas where if you badge in once or twice, you really can't. You don't have another option to do a DOS pass or Lightning Lane if you're in there. But we saw Pocahontas. She'd had a 5-minute wait, so we got to do a character line, which most of the character lines I did avoid just with the way the DOS pass doesn't work there, as well as the Lightning Lane. So that was a fun interaction. She was awesome. We did a DOS pass for Safari. We were in line at 12:30 off at like 1:50. And at this point, it was getting colder. This is another cold day where the high was 54, I think. Super windy, super cold, super gray. We did not bring our coats that day, and we definitely should have. So normally, looking it's hot. It was definitely not hot today. Definitely
Mhm.
was cooler, but the animals were all out. That was one thing doing a safari in the afternoon I was kind of concerned about. But I think since it was cooler, we saw pretty much every single animal there was to see, which was great.
Yes. Pros to that.
Exactly. I mean, so, sometimes you do what you got to do. And I mean, normally you try and do for safari right in the morning or in the evening. But when it's cold outside, I guess the animals are loving it and they are having a great time because we saw most of them.
Good.
We did the gorilla trail at that point, which was fun just to walk through and see all the animals. There's no food allowed on those trails, which I should have known. I didn't. And so my kids were all hungry at that point, and I'm like, all right, we can't eat. We don't want the animals to get the food. And so by the end of it, we had some hangry kiddos who needed to eat. So we just pulled off to the side right out of the gorilla trail. They have some seating areas at the Harambe Market, I think, and just had lunch and ate some of the sandwich and chips that we had. We didn't do lightning lanes this day just because, again, other than I did cave and buy a single pass lightning lane for Avatar. So we decided not to rope drop on Friday and come midday Thursday. Did end up buying that single pass, which they still had available 2 days beforehand. And so that was later in the evening. But we didn't do the multi pass just because I didn't feel like it was needed for our family, at least, especially with the DOS pass for a couple of the rides. So we did the standby lane for Everest, which throughout the day was only about a 30-minute wait. I don't think you ever got more than 40. And then I think, do they have a rider swap as well on Everest sometimes? I'm not sure, but
You can do writer switch on anything.
rider.
Almost.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but they have,
Oh, single rider.
single
They
rider.
don't just
They do have single rider. Yeah.
they have single rider. Okay. Yeah. So that's one of those things that was kind of in the back of my mind. If there's a long wait, we could do the single rider for Everest. But because it was only a 30-minute wait, Ray took the big kids and then I went walking and they actually had Moana out for her character meet and greet. And this is one of those times where the cast member was like, oh, it's 10 to 15 minutes. And it ended up being about 40 minutes. So definitely a lot longer than I anticipated. Actually, the kids were able to get on Everest. And instead of it being a 40-minute wait time, it was about a 20-minute wait time. And then still had time to come join us in the Moana line and meet Moana. And I will say it was one of the best character experience we had. She spent about 5 minutes with each person, it seemed like. So definitely awesome, but also not awesome for the wait. So
Yeah.
pros
that
and
makes
cons.
Very long way.
Yes. So obviously when you're having that experience, it's fantastic. But as you're waiting, you're like, okay, all right. 2 minutes is fantastic as well. But she was good. She had like a full on coat for her Moana outfit because it was so cold at this point. So she was not wearing her typical Moana outfit. Nemo show was down. I was hoping to do the Nemo show.
That did not happen because it was down the entire afternoon.
The
And they
Nemo
said
wait, the Nemo show was down?
the Nemo show was down the entire afternoon. Yeah. And I was really bummed about that because we lived in New York City for years. My kids are spoiled. They've seen Lion King multiple times because kids get in free when tourist season is low. And it's a fantastic show. I could see it again and again. But I'd never seen the Nemo show and I really wanted to see it. And it was shut down all afternoon.
Okay, well, that's nuts. I just made a note of that because I don't recall that ever happening before, so I want to check into it, and I hate that for you. It's not like there's a lot going on in Animal Kingdom.
No, especially right now with everything
No?
closing down.
I'm
So
like, they can't afford to lose a show. Like, that's
I think it was running in the morning, so I don't know what happened. I didn't stop. I was kind of like walking past and listening to the cast members talk to people. And so I didn't hear the exact reason, but I walked past 2 or 3 times hoping to like get into the show and just like in passing just to see what was going on. And even I didn't check the 4:30, but when I looked on the app, it said that 4:30 was happening. So I checked like the 1:30 and the 2:30 to 3:30. And so for whatever reason, it was not operating that day.
they don't typically start till 11, so they wouldn't
Oh, so
well,
then it
they wouldn't have had very many if they did, any at all. So I'm just bummed for you.
oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, the joys of Disney World, right? I mean, most of the rides were operational and functional. We didn't have any ride really that was like did not work except for that show. But
Mhm.
it's okay. We'll be back at some point. So at that point, though, my kids are gonna be too old for it probably. And I thought it was a great age for all of them to see it, but it's okay.
Yeah.
Instead, we went to the conservation station. So we took the train over. This was one of those times where I thought, oh, we'll be there 30 minutes. I was there with Celine for about an hour doing the petting zoo. And then my big kids wanted to do the drawing, and that's a long class. So it's like a 30 to 40-minute class, which I did not realize.
Mhm.
So they got to draw, I think, Bruce the shark, I think. I'll have to go back and look at my pictures. But it was a fun character, but Blaine was not having it. We were done at this point. So she and I took the train back while they finished up their drawing class. I just told Ray he needed to be back in Pandora Land by 5 just because we had the Avatar schedule. I think the lightning lane I got was 4:50 to 5:50, and the park closed at 6 that night.
You know what's nuts is
And that's again one of those
by the time this episode comes out, the whole section is closed.
Yeah, I heard that. That's right, because the conservation station is a Bluey that they're changing it for. Yeah. I don't know what I honestly, I told Ray, I was like, if we came now, I mean, I don't want to discourage anyone and you're the expert. I don't know if we would go to Animal Kingdom the next couple months.
Oh,
I don't
I
know.
wouldn't either.
Because unless you had park hopper tickets, maybe.
Yes, if you have park hoppers or some people like to buy the lightning lanes there because it's cheaper and then start booking in a different park. So there's some pros and cons
Oh,
to that. But like just
yeah.
for like the sheer number of things, there's not a lot going on right now.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a good day. Again, we could have made a full day. Those Wilderness Explorer badges are not like go get a sticker, you're done. It's like a 2 to 4 minute conversation with every cast member about it, which I didn't realize. So anyways, in the future, we aren't going to go for a couple years probably. So hopefully by then the Encanto Land and everything's up and it'll be much more happening spot. But
Oh, yes,
um,
you'll have some new stuff.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, we did that. Goofy was at the train station when we got off and no one was in line. So Celine got a great Goofy interaction without having to stand in line. And he was super, super awesome. Cute video, just him like, knuckles and high fives and dancing with her. So that was super cute. And then we all popped over. We met over at Avatar Land and we did the rider swap for the Flight of Passage. I did it with the 2 big kids. Ray went and did the Nabi River DOS Pass with Celine. And then Lisi really wanted, instead of doing the rider swap, wanted to do the Navi River. And so I said, hey, you may not have a chance to do the rider swap, but she was willing to risk it because we hadn't done that ride yet with her. And so we went and all did we had another DOS Pass for the Navi River that I had booked. I did that. And then Ray and Lisi ran back and got on Avatar Flight of Passage like 5 minutes before the park closed. So we were able to do pretty much everything that was offered that day, minus the Lion King show or I thought about doing the bird show that they had, Flight of Passage, but that didn't really fit in with a half day.
The bird show, Feathered Friends in Flight, or
Yeah, that one. Yeah, that one. Yes, yeah. Sorry, there's so many names. So I can't keep everything straight.
Yes, it is tricky. They also don't make
But, I mean,
there's
yeah.
just long names and anyway.
Yes, exactly. But we got there at 11, closed at 6. We pretty much did everything that there was available to us that day, minus those 2 things. So It was a good day. It was cold at that point, so I was gonna wait for Ray, and then Rowan and Celine were just done, and so we left them at the park and actually took the bus back just because the kids were so cold and so done, and we didn't have our coats at that point. So we went in, got our hot cocoa with the resort mugs because those last throughout the trip, even though our dining plan was done, and then met at the room, and that is where we did dinner in the room with Thursday night. So, and then kids were asleep by like 9:30.
9:30. I am curious if your plans the next day stayed the same because you had plans on Friday, February 6th for Animal Kingdom as well.
Nope. So we did not do Animal Kingdom that day. We did Magic Kingdom, but we slept in, and I mean, sleeping as much as my kids sleep in. We didn't get up until about 8, which was fantastic. My kids never sleep in that late. So I think they were definitely tired by that point. We got to Magic Kingdom. I guess we got in, we were pretty quick, I guess, with breakfast. Looking at my notes, we actually left the room at 8:30 and we're in the park at 8:50. So that was one of those days where I think we just did granola bars and Pop-Tarts and things that the kids don't usually get for breakfast. So they were loving it. So even though they slept in, we were out the door pretty quickly and on rides. We were at Space Mountain, looks like at 8:55. Only had a 10-minute wait. So we did get in just before the normal park opened at 9. So that did help with the Space Mountain. Ray did not do Space Mountain. He gets dizzy on that one as well. So I just took the big kids and did that. He just walked around with Celine, and we got a DOS pass because, again, we didn't do Lightning Lanes this day for 7 Mines Train. We were in line at 9:18, off at 9:30. Went to do Dumbo. That one only had like a 10-minute wait, so we just got in line. I had grabbed a Barnstormer DOS pass, but it broke down, so we didn't get to do that day. But instead, we did Winnie the Pooh DOS pass. And most of the rides were pretty reasonable for the first couple hours up until about 10:30. So we did Ariel. Again, no DOS pass, 5-minute wait. It did break down on us while we were in the ride. So we were on there for a little bit longer than we thought, but it was only about a 5-minute extra addition. And then we went and did the Winnie the Pooh with that DOS pass that I booked. Celine was having a rough morning, and I think at this point she was just a little bit overstimulated, hungry. She hadn't wanted to eat much, and so we went to Gaston's Tavern for the cinnamon rolls, which I had not done before. And I guess it's one of those things where, like, you think, is all the research worth it of you like reading and listening to podcasts and stuff? But when you have to pivot and like do certain things that you weren't planning on, I think it is very helpful to be familiar with like what options you have as backup plans.
Mm-hmm.
So went in and did that. It was great. The cinnamon rolls are massive. So they're like the size of my kid's head. So it's very big. Yeah. So we got 3 to split. And then again, I hadn't planned on doing the Enchanted Tales for Belle, but it was right over there by Gaston's Tavern. And originally I'd gotten a Haunted Mansion pass, but the kids really are not huge fans of Haunted Mansion without the Christmas overlay. And so I gave that up and we went and just did Enchanted Tales. We didn't need a pass for that. We were in there. That's a longer interaction. We were in the line and let in at 11:20. It took about 20, 25 minutes for the whole thing. And it is super cute. The kids act out the little play with Belle and they get to meet Belle at the end, which my 2 girls got to be characters. My son was too cool to do that. So he watched, but definitely fun. One of those things that I think because we had the extra days at Magic Kingdom, something to get fit in, which I hadn't fit in before.
Uh-huh. Gives you lots more options.
Yeah. Yep. Then we went and used the DOS pass for Pirates and Haunted Mansion. I did do that with my son. The girls did not want to do it. He also did not like it. So Ray just hung out with the kids, Lacey and Rowan, or excuse me, Lacey and Celine while we did that. And by this point, Celine was done. She took a nap. Ray took her back to the hotel, trying to do a stroller nap. She slept for about an hour. Lacey, Rowan, and I, we went to do the Monsters Lab and People Mover again, which again, Monsters Lab is one of those things. So super cute, super fun. I just haven't really spent time to do it, but we had that. And they really wanted to do it. And it was fun. And then I got the DOS pass for the Jungle Cruise because the wait for that was like 60 minutes at this point. And then we all went back to the hotel. Lacey wanted to do some shopping at some of the shops of the Contemporary. So we did that. And then we just had a break time, lunch in the room, and hung out in the hotel room until about 4:15.
Perk of being at the Contemporary.
You can exactly make it really easy. And so that evening, it was really just do what the kids want to do, not push it. We did the tiki room, and just for time's sake, I'll just go through. Ray and Rowan met up with us after the tiki room because they were trying to get an Amazon package delivered, which was kind of a hassle, but they found it at the Contemporary. If you order Amazon, it could go to the convention center and not the hotel. So tracking it down was slightly complicated, but
they found what they needed. So we needed something for our return home visit. And we used the Jungle Pass, DOS Pass at that point. And then I booked another DOS Pass for the Magic Carpets for the Aladdin ride. And then the kids were starving at this point, which I didn't think they would be, but kids are always hungry. We went to the Columbia Harbor House, and that was really good. I actually was surprised by how good it was. Magic Kingdom's not like one of those top places that I love to eat out. So
No, it's
not
not
if you have a
known
Ferris
for
wheel.
its not known for its
No, but I mean, it was good. I mean, it had enough stuff, had French fries, and I did get, well, we got the clam chowder. It was cold. It was cooler at that point. Anyways, it was decent. Went and did the Country Bear Jamboree, and in Frontierland, at least when we were there, there was hardly anyone in that waiting area for the Starlight Parade. So they do have a wheelchair and stroller as a wheelchair spot marked off, but we didn't need it. We got out of the Jamboree at 7:40. Parade starts at 7:45. Now that when we went was the tail end of the parade. From what I understand now, that might not always be the case, but the parade came around 8:10 and really spots weren't full until about 8. And so you're not getting the front of the castle and all that fun stuff, but from like a waiting time of kids, if you have kids or adults who can't wait, it was a great spot to watch the parade.
good. And thoughts
So I
on the
got to
parade?
watch it. Huh?
Thoughts on the parade?
I really liked it. I haven't had the opportunity of doing a lot of parades in the past couple of years. Just 'cause my youngest can't really wait, and if there's lots of people, it's overwhelming. So I don't know if it's just because I haven't seen a parade for a long time, or if it. I really liked it. I thought it was very, very well done.
I'm glad that you liked it. It's hard for me to watch any nighttime parade after Paint the Night.
Yes, yeah, understandable.
Yeah, and so I feel like as a Disneyland person, maybe you would. I thought maybe you would feel similarly because it's just such a pretty one. Feels like being spoiled.
Yes. I mean, that one is definitely better. I've only had the opportunity of watching that once, again, just because of my youngest. And I think it was half the time I was just battling her because she was done. So I didn't get the true experience. So I need to go back and see that. And I need to find out at Disneyland if they have spots marked off for wheelchairs and people with disabilities, because I have not seen that in the past. And I'm sure I just haven't asked. So I need to ask someone because at Disney World, you see the spots marked off. It's very visible. Hey, this is where you can sit if you have someone with a disability. Again, you didn't really need it if you're a Frontierland for the Starlight Parade, but I need to look into that because I love the parade and the kids love the parade. It's just the waiting part that they don't get very well.
That is the hard part.
We hit Tiana's right after. There was a 5-minute wait because it was so cold, and we walked over to Tiana's. Kids loved it. Even my youngest, which I was surprised about. We did get put ponchos on. We didn't really need it because we sat in the back 2 rows. And then at that point, we left. We left the park about 9:20 and walked back to the hotel, and kids were asleep by 10.
All right. You had one more full day left. Saturday, February 7th. Your pre-trip said Magic Kingdom. Is that what you kept?
Yes. And looking at, we hadn't done this park, Disney World for 5 years. I think in the future, if we do it again, I would probably just do 2 days of Magic Kingdom. Or if they had the evening hours and we were able to do that, just do one evening on one day. Since it is very similar to Disneyland, I think there are less rides though in Magic Kingdom than Disneyland. Is that correct?
Well, so all of Disneyland has like about the same number of attractions as all of Disney World.
Got it.
So
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
assuming that the number of Disneyland is more than Magic Kingdom based on that.
And that's something I hadn't taken into account because I feel like for us, it takes us 2 days to go through all of Disneyland. And not that you absolutely have to have a great time. And so I thought, oh, well, 2.5 days, that will be perfect. We'll see everything since we haven't been there. But there was, and obviously Buzz Lightyear was down, Thunder Mountain was closed for refurbishment. So you had that. But it felt like there was significantly less rides at Magic Kingdom than Disneyland, which had I really thought that through, I should have done that before. I probably would have only done 10 or 2 days anyways, but it was fun. I mean, it was a chill day. It was actually less crowded Saturday than Friday at Magic Kingdom, which I don't think is typical. The rides really were not terrible on Saturday. We even got to the park. They changed the hours the night before. It was supposed to be 9 to 9 and they made it 8 to 11. And so there was no way I was going to get the kids up right at 8. Just with our busy week, I was just kind of see where we went with it. But the kids were up at 7:10. We left at 8 and we were in the park by 8:20. And so Rowan really wanted to do Tron, and there was only a 30-minute wait for Tron at that point, which I was surprised about since the park was fully open. So Ray, I didn't really care. It was a fun ride, but I was good doing it once. So Ray took Rowan to do that. And I took Lacey and Celine and did Carousel and Peter Pan. I used the DOS pass for Peter Pan because there was about a 30-minute wait. But for most of the day, I mean, unless you wanted to do Tron, most of the waits that day were very reasonable. And I had Lightning Lane. We didn't need it just because Celine was tall enough to do the 40-inch rides. And also just the crowds were fairly manageable with the DOS pass. But it was a good day. It was a chill day and it was fun. I think we probably, like I said, would have been fine without doing it this day. But I love Disneyland, so I'll take as much time as I can get in Disney World as well. Disney World's fantastic. So we did the Peter Pan ride, did the carousel, and then I booked a 7 mile train. And so the boys were off Tron at 8:48. So again, the wait time was less than they said would be. I think they said 30 is really only about 20. And so they met up with us. At that point, we did Teacups and Barnstormers. Each had like a 10-minute wait. So we didn't use the Lightning Lane pass or the DOS pass, excuse me. And then we went to do the 7 mile train that had a 40-minute wait at that point, but we used the DOS pass. So we were on that ride, 9:36 off at 9:43. And at that point, I booked a Winnie the Pooh because it's so popular, DOS pass. And I booked an Aladdin Lightning Lane. And this is where it gets confusing, and we really didn't need the Lightning Lane and DOS pass because I felt like all I was doing all day was like booking Lightning Lane and DOS passes, and the waits were not that terrible. But we got on the Pooh ride. We were on and off in about 10 minutes. It was not terrible. I did have the Space Mountain Lightning Lanes already booked for 10:10 on Saturday, and so we went and did that. Ray did not want to do that because again, he's dizzy on that, and so I still made him walk over and do a rider swap with me, so then I could take the 2 kids the second time. Since Celine, we had to buy a Lightning Lane pass for her as well. We had 2 extras. And so because he did the rider swap, I could take Lacey and Rowan the first time and the second time. So we did Space Mountain twice. Well, Ray went over and did Dumbo with Celine. Again, Celine was done at this point, so I wasn't planning on, but we did another snack break at Gaston's Tavern because kids loved it so much. And again, we're not going to be back at Disney World for a while. We met Ariel at 11:20. Didn't use the DOS pass because it was only about a 10-minute wait. And I booked a DOS pass at that point for the Ariel ride, which was a 10-minute wait. Didn't really need it, but I didn't have anything else over in that direction. And so we got on and off the Ariel ride. Nothing broke down this day, so that was great. And I booked a DOS pass for Jungle Cruise for later in the day because that ride was about an hour wait at that point. Had a Lightning Lane for Tiana's later in the afternoon. We went and did the Magic Carpets, which had about a 10-minute wait, so no Lightning Lane or DOS pass there. And then we ended up using the Jungle Cruise at 12:09, and we were off at 12:35. So good morning. I felt like I was on my phone more than I wanted to be, though.
Yeah, you're just burning through it.
Yeah. Yes, which I mean, it meant you weren't waiting, but that was the downside too. I feel like the way they do the Lightning Lanes and the DOS pass is plus you don't have to walk to the locations and ask for your return time, but you just feel like you're on the phone all the time. But better than waiting, so I'm appreciative of that. But we did go back to the hotel for nap time. Ray took her right after Jungle Cruise. The kids wanted another Dole Whip, so I'm like, okay, sure, last day at Disney, we'll go get a Dole Whip. And then we met Ray up in the hotel. Celine woke up as soon as they got to the hotel, so we ended up just doing just nap time, movie time in the hotel, hung out there for a couple hours. I listened to some lectures because I didn't go to the lectures on those 2 days. So I was listening to lectures for Friday and Saturday while the kids were just chilling. And then we went back. Ray was kind of Disneyed out. So I took the kids back. I had booked a DOS pass to meet Mickey Mouse. His wait time was also quite long throughout the day, about 30 to 40 minutes. So that was the one character we had not met, and the kids were absolutely adamant that we had to meet Mickey Mouse before we left, which he's a classic, so it was fine. Met Mickey, and then I did book a DOS pass for 7 Mines for one more ride. As we're getting out, they have that little show at the castle, which is super cute with all the Disney, like Disney Duck, Donald Duck and Daisy. I don't know the name of it, but it's cute.
Yeah, the stage show.
Yeah, yeah. So I hadn't planned on that, but that was super cute. So we did that, and at that point, we had a Pirates Lightning Lane. We used that. We did Tiana Lightning Lane. So I took all the kids on it. I went to Pecos Bill for dinner with the kids. I hadn't planned on doing that, but it was decent. It was in Frontierland. We were over there. The kids were hungry, so got the rice bowl. Kids got burger and fries, and one of the employees pixie dusted my kids and gave them the Mickey ice cream cones dessert. whatever ice cream bars. So that was fun. They got their ice cream. And then at that point, Ray met up with us and we just did with the intermingling lightning lane DOS. I mean, pretty much the rest of the night, I'd either booked or had lightning lanes or the DOS pass. We did Peter Pan, which at that point was a 30-minute wait. But we used lightning lane, Small World. There was no wait, but I had a lightning lane, so I used it. We did Tomorrow Speedway. And then we did use the DOS pass for the 7 Mine Train. And then we did the carousel right before the fireworks shut down. So the carousel does shut down about 8:45. And thankfully we got on it right before it shut down because my daughter really wanted to do it. And then after that, again, I hadn't planned on staying past 9. They had extended the evening hours. I don't think they really needed to because it was less crowded than on Friday, but we benefited from that. We just hit the Mickey Philharmonic Magic show, which I haven't done in years. That was cute. And did the Speedway and the Astro Orbiter. All of these were without DOS Pass or lightning lanes just because the lines were about 10, 15 minutes. And I really wanted to do the Carousel of Progress. I feel like that's the one thing I didn't get to do. It's obviously nostalgic for me. I don't think my kids could care at all. But everyone was done, and I felt I could have gone and done it by myself, but it wouldn't have been as fun by myself. So at that point, we left the park at about 10:20 and called it a day.
Yeah. It was one big last hurrah at Magic Kingdom. So that means you also must have canceled your Crystal Palace reservation.
I did. Yeah. I felt like we'd had so much food. We had so many character interactions. I kind of booked everything just to see how I didn't anticipate doing all of it. And we definitely didn't need to do it. I'll have to revisit with my kids if they want to do it next time. I think they all had a fantastic experience with the dining that we had done. From looking at past pictures, I think they really wanted to do the Crystal Palace based on past, I had picture books that I made from like previous Disney World trips, but they were not neglected. They had a great trip.
Yeah, you had already done some character meals. Okay, so the next day was Sunday, February 8th, departure day, but you also had a conference in the morning.
Yeah, exactly. So I went to the conference until about 11. Same thing. I think Ray pretty much just hung out with the kids. I do think they went and rode the monorail and just explored the resort a little bit. My conference left at 11, or excuse me, finished at 11, and we had packed up a lot of the stuff the night before. So we just finished up packing. And then this is another thing I would have changed because my work would pay for an Uber back. I was just going to Uber, but we could not fit everyone in one Uber. And so we ended up having to do 2 Ubers. So I think if I did it again, also Orlando matched rides, like a lot of those ride services, they have car seats, whereas Uber, you could only have like the XL Uber. The double XL did not have a car seat. Lesson learned. Next time we'll just stick with some sort of transport service if we need to.
Yeah. It's tricky to fit all the people in the back into a car.
Yep. Especially because we had all our winter gear, which normally you would not have going to Disney World. We had a lot of luggage.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. So, but no, nothing happened. I mean, other than that, small snafu. Ray took one Uber. I was already in the cab with the other kids. So I'm like, all right, I'll just bring the kids and stuff. So I should not have left the stroller with Ray. So I had the luggage, the kids, and no stroller. And Ray had the stroller and himself. I think we were so flustered at that point. NCO has horrible reputation, especially on Sunday, being super busy, that we're just like trying to get to the airport. So we get to the airport and we're halfway there. Well, we're halfway there. I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't know what I'm going to do with Celine. It's like her safe space where she doesn't run. So it was a tricky 15 minutes between by the time the Uber driver dropped us off and when Ray came back. And we made it work, but it was rough. It was a rough 15 minutes. So not the best way to end the trip. But after that, it was smooth sailing through security, no delays, got home to Arizona at a reasonable time. But never leave the stroller with the husband again.
Yes, never again. Okay, so overall thoughts on staying at the beach club?
I love the beach club. I would love to do it again when it's a little bit warmer. We've done January and February before. I don't love sweating in the summer. That's when I used to go as a kid, and I just remember being like totally drenched with sweat, which is still a blast. But I would prefer the cooler months. But we've never had this experience where it was like so cold that you can't utilize a lot of the park options. So I would love to do it again and have like 2 days or break times where you could actually utilize the pool like I had planned on. I think especially with like sensory kids who have sensory needs, just having a break from the park and just being able to splash and, swim and get around. Even myself who's neurotypical, I think just having a place to like hang out and chill is nice. And we didn't get to utilize it to its full capacity. So I'd like to go back and do it again.
It sounds like you were more familiar with the contemporary, but thoughts on staying the contemporary?
It's definitely not as positive as previous experiences, but again, we have that extra component of our youngest, and it's hard when you're tired at the end of the day and you're trying to shower your 4-year-old who has, anyways, it just cognitively doesn't understand what's happening. So it was also very far away. In previous trips, I had been like towards the front of the garden, and so it is, interesting how those 5-10 minutes a couple times a day do add up over time. But it's the proximity to the park you can't beat. I mean, just being able to walk and having that control factor of, okay, it doesn't matter really when I leave, I can get there in 10 minutes or 15 minutes. So I love the proximity to it. I think I prefer beach club over contemporary, from the pool, from the walking. Just having that option of walking to Hollywood Studios and Epcot is really nice. I don't know. The contemporary is great though. I mean, I do like the contemporary. I just noted some things for future stays if we stay there.
So then, combining the two, how did you feel about navigating a split stay?
I like the split stay. We'll have to see if we do it again in the future. In the past, we've used it more as we would stay at a value resort and then go to a deluxe resort. And so we've done split stays on past 3 trips we've done. Again, it's been 5 years since we did it, but I like changing it up and seeing different parts of the park because there's so many awesome resorts. I don't know if I feel the need. Again, the last tap was free for me, so it was definitely nice from that perspective, totally worth it. But if I didn't have the aspect, I don't think I would switch over from a deluxe to deluxe resort. I don't know if I would do that again.
The way that you did it is my personal favorite because you took advantage of the 2 locations. Because it's like
Mhm.
while you're near, these 2 parks, do those, and then you go to the Magic Kingdom, you're just a walk away there. So I'm like, if you're doing a split stay, to me, that's you're taking advantage of the walking because you could walk to 3 or 4
Mhm.
parks during your trip, which was
Mhm.
nice.
Mhm.
What about the
And that's the
dining?
highlight for me, I think, of the 3 parks is the walking. I think that is the biggest selling factor. Like I said, I considered switching to Art of Animation when the weather was so horrible, and it's a great resort. We've stayed there before,
Mhm.
but just having that control factor of being able to walk is huge.
Yeah, it is. What about the Disney dining plan?
I don't think we would use it again, which didn't surprise me. We only paid $800 for the 5 of us for 4 days, and that included multiple character meals, a Fantasmic dining package, beach club, and then multiple of the quick service meals, and we used all the snacks in the resort. So I think we definitely utilized it well. And when I did some rough math, I think if we had paid for it out of pocket, we would have spent about $300 or $400 more than what we paid for the dining plan, just because we do have that 4, 7, and 9-year-old. I don't think we'll do it again. I mean, my 9-year-old turns 10 in a couple months. So in the future, it's really not going to benefit us as much. And my 7-year-old is horrendously picky. So he does not eat a whole lot. So I think it was a great learning experience. I'm glad we did it just because I've always been curious about it. It's so much food. I just felt kind of gross by the end of it. And that was only 4 days. At first I was like, oh, dang it, we're not going to do it for the whole stay because you don't have that option. I asked if you could do that with the conference aspect, the stay, but they said because the conference, the hotel room is already subsidized, they don't want to add or they don't add on to that dining plan deals as well. So I'm glad that it did not happen. I mean, I could have probably gone a day or 2 without eating after doing the dining, but
I do think that has to be a strong consideration. It's like, is this how you eat?
yeah,
Right. Because
exactly.
I'm kind of a waste of like a buffet or like a dining plan because I just prefer to eat
Uh-huh.
a little bits here and there. But
Hmm.
some people, that's how they eat, so it really is a good deal. So it just depends. But
Hmm.
having the 3 kids be free, really nice.
Yeah, and I like the character meals. I mean, as the kids get older, I'm probably not going to utilize that as much if that interest goes down, which I'm sure at some point it will. But right now, the kids are in that cute age where it's just nice to be able to sit at a table and have the characters come to you, as opposed to like fighting meltdowns in a character line. So, and the fact that the ones that the acro shoes we actually paid for out of pocket because at the 2 credit dining, whatever on the dining plan, but all the other ones, the Cape May was one, the 1900 Park Fair, that's one table service dining credit. And then the Fantasmic dining package is 1 credit. So all of those, just I think the bill for Cape May, or excuse me, the Grand Floridian was like $290 for the 5 of us if we pay out of pocket. And so, I mean, it just financially, it did even out. It's just mentally, like you're saying, I don't normally have a milkshake and then a burger and then
Yes.
dessert. Like I just, That's like, I'll do a milkshake once, that's your dessert and that's your treat for a couple days. So anyways, it's different.
All right. Is there anything about your trip we haven't talked about?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what happens to Animal Kingdom in a couple years because it did make me sad with Dinosaur Land closed and then Nemo down. And then, like you're mentioning, the train. I'm excited to see what happens to that in a couple years. So I told my husband in maybe 2 or 3 years, we'll have to go back and see it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be amazing. The perk of that, so many closures, is it does give them the freedom to build faster. So I think it looks like
Yes.
it's coming along. So next time you'll get to do it. Well, I appreciate you
Yes.
taking the time to share. And this has been very helpful. I've made lots of notes for myself for takeaways.
Oh, well, thank you. I learn a lot from you. On my runs, I listen to you. So I appreciate all that you do.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Crystal. I hope you enjoyed that trip report. We did keep talking on the after chat because I wanted to know more about her background in running because there's an obvious combo between her love of the Disney parks and running. Maybe Run Disney is in her future. We'll see. And I also wanted to ask her about if she speaks Spanish because when she was talking about riding the 3 Caballeros, I was like, wait a minute, I think she might be fluent. And we talked a little bit about that. So you can find that up on Patreon right now in video and audio form. I think that'll wrap up this episode of WDW Prep to Go. For more information, please check the show notes in your podcast app or head to the website, wdwprepschool.com. Click on podcast at the top, scroll down to episode 502. Until next time, I will see you on the site.